I believe that I was born for greatness. I will stand and fight for all my dreams. I never thought my journey would be painless, but I found that life is harder than it seems. See, I believe that I had found a family. I believe that it would be forever. It seemed as though I found my perfect fit. I wasn't ready for the storm that came after. Yeah, kwanzima, kodwa ixesha liyaphilisa. I'm gonna fight back, I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna rise up, I'm gonna stand up. Yeah, yeah, kwanzima, kodwa ixesha liyaphilisa. I'm gonna fight back, not gonna give up. I'm gonna rise up, I'm gonna stand up and take back my power. Inside my veins, power. Inside my heart, power. Inside my veins, power. Ngamandla, ngamandla, oh ngamandla, ngaphakathi kwami. Sajika izinto, you show me your true colors. Kodwa ndenzindibo, I just can't help but wonder if I deserve all of the pain, if all my sweat was all in vain. Will I survive through all the rain to see the sun shining again? All I did, all I gave, wasn't enough for when you got greedy. Wafuna yonkinto, told you ndizophumelela. You tried to bury me. I said no Zulu vuleka, right now I'm breaking free. Kwanzima, kodwa ixesha liyaphilisa. I'm gonna fight back, not gonna give up. I'm gonna rise up, I'm gonna stand up. Yeah, yeah, kwanzima, kodwa ixesha liyaphilisa. I'm gonna fight back, not gonna give up. I'm gonna rise up, I'm gonna stand up and take back my power. I'm gonna take back my power. I'm gonna take back my power. I'm gonna take back my power. Ngamandla, ngamandla amibo. Ngamandla amibo. Ngaphakathi kwami. I'm gonna take back my power. I'm gonna take back my power.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning, Yonka.
Morning.
Morning.
Thank you. Thank you so
Morning.
much. Good morning, everyone. What a way to start this morning. Beautiful Monday morning to everyone. And I think I've dropped my message in the chat just to wish all you beautiful ladies and obviously our male in the rooms also happy Women's Month. I am Nomta Hadi. I'm within the Nelson Mandela University Business School, and I'll give over just to my co-host to briefly introduce herself. Andrea?
Good morning, lovely ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our wonderful, spectacular celebration of women and the men who support us. We are so grateful to have you with us. And also, we really appreciate you making this time on a Monday morning to spend this morning with us. Before I go ahead to talk about the aim of our event, I will now hand back over to Dr. Nomta Hadi.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Colleagues, students, ladies and gentlemen, we are having guests from internally within the university, but we also have our outside guests, not only our sponsors, but key companies and partners that we have identified for this Women's Month event. Before I take you through our program for this morning, I first want to acknowledge and recognize our key sponsors for this event. So as Andrea has mentioned, this is a great initiative that we thought of as the Faculty Transformation and Engagement Committee to kick off Women's Month. Many people said, oh no, on a Monday morning, is it a good idea? But we thought it is the 1st of August. We are launching Women's Month, and we trust that we'll also launch a great week for all of you that are able to join us. So this event is something that we had planned from May as the Faculty Engagement and Transformation Committee. And because it's not an institutional only Faculty of Business and Economic Science initiative, we thought of extending the invitation to key sponsors that are interested in women empowerment and that have actually made a great impact, not only in the lives of women, but also in the lives of many within our city and abroad or nationally. Do excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Tian, I'm just going to ask that if you are able to just mute whoever's unmuted themselves. I'm just getting a bit of feedback in the background. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's Monday morning. Some of you might not have had their coffee, but if anyone is not speaking, may we currently request that you all have your mics on mute, just so we don't disturb the speaker on the floor. So sorry, ladies and gentlemen, as I was mentioning, this initiative, we thought of approaching specific sponsors. Our first sponsor that we thought of was ABSA, not only because they have the monetary resources, but we've got a very interesting lady that is not only an alumni within our faculty, but she continuously reaches out and is always willing to assist the university and our faculty. So ABSA is a key sponsor on our event or for this morning, and we'd like to thank ABSA for once again availing not only their time, but also their resources and sponsoring the goodie bags that we will share with you later on. The second sponsor that we thought of was an audiologist within a bay, because as much as we always speak about women empowerment and we share, or even within our education space, we try and broaden your knowledge, we recognize the importance of hearing. And she will obviously expand on hearing as an ability, but also we want to underline as we empower and share our women's successful stories, the importance of hearing with intention. And we also have key other sponsors, Saimi, we have Vuvuzela. Unfortunately, our event had to move to the online platform and not physical, but we would have loved to share some delights or treats from Vuvuzela. It is a well-known restaurant within our city and in Cape Town, and we've got Susan that will be speaking later on. I also want to thank Saimi as our key sponsor for this morning. And I also want to thank the University Choir, Mold, which is the home that we will be sponsoring our sanitary drive to, and any other partners and key people that have made this day a success. So thank you so much to you all. And I'm going to hand over now to Andrea just to give the purpose of our event, and she will also introduce our Deputy Dean, our Deputy Executive Dean, Prof. May. But before she does that, also from my side, I also want to thank the faculty as a whole for the support and obviously the guidance in terms of ensuring that this event is a success. So thank you so much, and back to you, Andrea.
Thank you so much, Nomta. As mentioned, we have so many wonderful sponsors and our colleagues and external stakeholders who have supported us, and we really thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Now, a lot of us already know why we have Women's Month and Women's Day, because remarkable women who have gone before us have marched to the Union buildings in 1956 to ensure that there was equality and fighting against oppression. So on the 9th of August in 1956, about 20,000 women in South Africa marched to the Union buildings, and that strength and determination and tenacity is felt today, even now. So why are we so important? Why are we such assets? Why are we so remarkable? I think that it speaks for itself, but just a few key points that maybe you didn't know that emphasize Women's Month and why we deserve to be celebrated, we deserve to be supported, we deserve to be held in high regard and equal to men. Did you know that women were the inventors of disposable diapers, non-reflective glass, paper bags, the dishwasher, even the foot pedal trash cans, things that you use every day? And here's a really fun one. Did you know that heels were originally worn by men in the 1600s, and then women actually wore them to mimic men, almost to mock them and to take back that power? Now, it seems like we've been laughing all the way to the 21st century, because I, for one, seem to love heels, and somehow we have taken that and made it our own. Not only for the fun aspects of life, but we are important to society because economic growth is proportional to educated women. So we see that educated women directly relate to economic growth by almost 50%. So we are really important to society. We can nurture the societies that we live in. We provide that warmth, we provide that love, we provide that understanding, and we also are a little bit cooler. And I'll tell you why. We are just a little bit cooler than men. We love our men, but we're just a little bit cooler because research has actually found that women are able to recognize 25% more colors and shapes, which make us quite invaluable to society because we can invent more things, we can see art differently, and we are able to just identify and appreciate our surroundings a little bit more. But also, not to brag, but I think we can just tap ourselves on the shoulder, is that women have the 2 highest recorded IQ scores in history. So I think that that is something we can all give ourselves a round of applause, because we can all take it as a win for ourselves. And that is why we support one another. You know, often women are abused in our society and are treated as less than, but we are not trying to say we are dominant or we are better than men. As our lovely Deputy Dean has pointed out earlier today, we are not trying to say that the rise of women is the fall of men. We just want equality, and that's what we are striving for, and we will get there. We must be positive. So on that happy and positive note, we are now going to hand over to our wonderful Deputy Dean, Professor Michelle May, who will provide the address.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Andrea and Nomta, for the introduction and welcoming. I just want to try and share my screen here for a second. That's just busy loading from my side. Okay. Right. So I'm assuming everyone can see that, and that's the most cliched phrase since COVID ever happened, all right? So the month of August focuses on raising awareness of the role of women in business and society. We should actually make this a priority all year round. As women, we need to support our sisters. As mothers, we need to raise our children to respect all people regardless of gender. Paraphrasing the words of Tara Amps, she said, if we are to fight discrimination and injustice against women, we need to start at home. We had a previous dean that used to use and refer to... Yes. What's happening? Okay. Can you hear me now? Can I just get some thumbs up? Because there was an interruption. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So we had a previous dean that always used to refer to geese when discussing teams and excellence and celebration of excellence. So I want to draw your attention and paraphrase from him some of the characteristics of geese and what we can learn from nature to celebrate each other. So first of all, geese fly further together. And now why do they do that? Because they fly in a V formation. What happens is the geese in front lifts their wings to fly, and that creates a lift, which makes flying easier for the person behind or the geese behind them. So my question to you is, when have you made flying easier for your colleagues? Geese also support each other when times are tough. When one goose gets hurt or sick, two other fall out of the formation and will help and stay with the sick goose until it recovers. Have you reached out and supported and cared for your colleagues that are perhaps not functioning at 100%? Geese also take turns in leading. Remember that V formation I spoke about earlier? Well, there's no one geese that's always in front. Why? Because the leadership position in front is exhausting. It's tiring. There's no one that is in front of you to lift their wings to help you fly easier. So to avoid fatigue, the front goose will rotate with the other geese. When last have you put your hand up and taken up a leadership position in your organization? Geese cheer progress, right? So they are loud when they are flying. And scientists believe that this is because they are cheering for each other and supporting each other on this long journey of migration. When have you last cheered for the success of your colleagues? And then lastly, geese are loyal to their purpose. They don't change their migration routes. They always return to the same spot when migrating. Are you focused on your life's purpose? We can learn from each other and we can learn from nature. We have a responsibility in the workplace to support each other and to provide developmental opportunities for all staff, regardless of gender. And I urge you to take up on those opportunities. Because as Andrea said, and as I said earlier, the rise of women is not about the fall of men. We should be focusing on gender equality for today, for a sustainable future. How do we make the difference in the context of climate change, environmental and disaster risk reduction? And these are some of the global challenges of the 21st century. With regards to today's event, it is wonderful to see some of our alumni and ex-students, well, they are alumni, but especially Brenda and friends from industry presenting here today. Thank you for taking the time of spending with us and cheering our women and our university on. I also want to thank Nomta and Andrea and their team for organizing this event. Their creativity, energy, commitment, excitement is amazing. Thank you very much. I want to leave you with two quotes. The first one is Beyonce. She says, we need to reshape our own perception of how we view ourselves. We need to step up as women and take the lead. I want to celebrate each woman that has stood up, who has raised their hands, who have embraced the leadership opportunities. I salute you. And then Serena Williams says, every woman's success should be an inspiration to another. We are strongest when we cheer each other on. I guess both Beyonce and Serena have learned from the geese. I want to thank you and welcome you to our celebration of women today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prof. May, for that beautiful address. As Andrea and as you've also mentioned, this was also highlighted when we conceptualized our Women's Day or Women's Month launch event, that the rise of women is not at the fall of women. And as Prof. May highlighted, SDG 5 is what we advocating and focusing on specifically, without disregarding or ignoring the other 16 other SDGs, but SDG 5, gender equality, is what we are advocating for as women. So thank you so much, Prof. May. I'm going to ask you, Tian, to please play the choir's video once again. I noted that we only had 53 attendees by then, and we're currently sitting at close to 80. And there's a very powerful message that that video had. For some of you that are not Xhosa speaking like me, a key message behind that video, or behind the song that our beautiful NMU choir shared with us, is that stand up and take up your power. And as Andrea and Prof. May has mentioned, the encouragement, the reminder with having this event is to once again remind all women, we do not disregard men, but we're reminding all women that please at all times stand up, because that is the only way we will achieve gender equality, and take up the power within you. So Tian, before we get our next speaker on the floor, can we please have that video played once again, specifically the messaging behind what our NMU choir has sent for us. So thank you.
I believe that I was born for greatness. I would stand and fight for all my dreams. I never thought my journey would be painless, but I found that life is harder than it seems. See, I believe that I had found a family. I believe that it would be forever. It seemed as though I found my perfect fit. I wasn't ready for the storm that came after. Yeah, kwanzima, kodwa ixesha liyaphilisa. I'm gonna fight back, I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna rise up, I'm gonna stand up. Yeah, yeah, kwanzima, kodwa ixesha liyaphilisa. I'm gonna fight back, not gonna give up. I'm gonna rise up, I'm gonna stand up, and take back my power. Inside my veins, power. Inside my heart, power. Inside my veins, power. Ngamandla, ngamandla, oh ngamandla, ngaphakathi kwami. Sajike izinto, you show me your true colors. Kodwa ndansindibo, I just can't help but wonder if I deserve all of the pain, if all my sweat was all in vain. Will I survive through all the rain to see the sun shining again? All I did, all I gave, wasn't enough for when you got greedy. Wafuna yonginto, told you dissolve, you tried to bury me. I said no Zulu Bulega, right now I'm breaking free. Kwanzima, kodwa ixesha liyaphilisa. I'm gonna fight back, not gonna give up. I'm gonna rise up, I'm gonna stand up. Yeah, yeah, kwanzima, kodwa ixesha liyaphilisa. I'm gonna fight back, not gonna give up. I'm gonna rise up, I'm gonna stand up and take back my power. I'm gonna take back my power. I'm gonna take back my power. gonna take back my power.
Thank you so much, Tian, and thank you once again to our Nelson Mandela University Choir, not only for that powerful message, but also for those melodic voices that presented that message for us. So as we mentioned earlier on, ladies and gentlemen in the room, we are standing up and we're taking up our power. I will not be dwelling much on what the previous speakers have said. We are very much cautious of time. Those that are in logistics, as per my background, will know that we're very very keen on promoting JIT, just in time. So just in time logistics are very key for this morning. And I will now present to you our very first speaker. Our very first speaker is Mrs. Melanie Nodia. Melanie is from an audiologist company, Nodia Audiologist. They are in industry for the past 16 years. So sorry about that. So Melanie and her husband have been in audiology for the past 20 years combined experience. My maths almost failed me there. So Melanie and her husband have an audiology practice in Port Elizabeth and in Jeffreys Bay. They specialize in not only fully diagnosing hearing problems, but they offer a comprehensive hearing test as per the customer needs and challenges. I also want to highlight the fact that Melanie is a mom, and Melanie is also very much passionate about women empowerment and also sharing her story and her journey with all in PE and obviously across South Africa and wherever possible. So Melanie, good morning. Thank you so much for partnering with us on this event. I'm now going to give over to you. If you are able to share your screen, please do so if you would like. But thank you so much, Melanie. And ladies and gentlemen, I know we are on a virtual platform, but if you can give Melanie a virtual hand clap just to welcome her by using our reactions button. So thank you so much, Melanie. Thank you once again. The floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning, organizers and everybody attending. It is a real privilege for me to be and share some of my knowledge with you this morning, and hoping that I will also empower you in some way to understand more about your hearing and the importance of hearing. I just want to share my screen.
Thank you. We can see it, Melanie.
I trust that you can all see this. So I don't think that we think about our ears and our hearing very often in general. And I want to share firstly some very interesting facts about your hearing that you might not have known. And then I'm going to speak specifically about women's hearing and how women's hearing is different from men's. So the first interesting fact is that your ears are always working. Your ears never stop hearing, even while you're asleep. You can never turn off your ears. However, even though you are hearing while you are asleep, the brain does not process sound in the same way as it does when you are awake. Thus, your ears will always hear and process sound regardless of your state, Whether you're conscious or unconscious, your ears never get a day off. Secondly, your ears help with balance. Your ears are essential for you to maintain your balance. If you ever had an ear infection, you might know precisely what I mean. Vertigo is a common side effect of an inner ear infection. Your ears help with your balance due to the fluid within them. When the fluid moves, it tells your brain just what you're up to and how to compensate in terms of balance. Your ears self-clean, and I've put a picture up of a lady cleaning her ear with an earbud, which is an absolute no-no as far as we are concerned. The earwax inside your ear is actually made up of a combination of oil, sweat, and dead skin cells. Earwax form a barrier inside your ear canal, and it helps to keep your ears clean because it traps dust before it enters the ear. The earwax is sticky by design, so it traps debris and particles to protect your ears and the delicate structures inside your ears. Think of your earwax as a filter between your ears and the outside world. Unfortunately, we see a lot in private practice where people use earbuds and then they basically put the earwax deeper into the ear, and you can also perforate your eardrum if you stick the earbud too deep down your ear canal. So please don't use earbuds. We can maybe speak about this more in the stall session. Did you know that your ears have the smallest bones in your body? If you look on the picture, you will see the malleus incus and stapes, and that's their real size. Your ears, so these small bones are in your middle ear, and technically they are referred to as ossicles. They are designed to aid with sound transmittal. These bones capture the sound from the outside and then relay them back to the brain. The whole process of hearing is a fascinating and an amazing system. Very interesting fact that your earlobes change with time. As you get older, your ears don't really get bigger, but their shape changes. Our bones stop growing after puberty, and muscle and fat stops dividing. But cartilage, that's the stuff your ears and your nose are made of, will change until the day you die. The reason is that cartilage is made up of collagen, and the collagen fibers break down over time as we get older. The result is drooping. Our ears and our noses sag and become larger as we age. So sorry, ladies, I know we're concerned about other body parts also sagging. So a little bit of bad news that your ears and your nose might join that process. Did you know that your hearing develops even before you were born? At around 18 weeks of pregnancy, the unborn baby will start hearing sounds inside mom's body, for example, a heartbeat. Around 6 to 7 months of pregnancy, the baby can hear some sounds outside of the mom's body too, like voices. By the time you are full term, baby will be able to hear sound at the same level as an adult. In fact, a baby can distinguish mom's voice 24 hours after birth from other voices because baby was exposed to mom's voice before being born. We can also test the baby's hearing 24 to 48 hours after birth using an echo test to see if the inner ear has developed normally. Did you know that you hear with your brain? You do not hear with your ears. Your ears only receive the sound from your environment and send it to the brain that translates it to meaning. If you have a hearing loss, it means that your brain is receiving less stimulation than it should. Untreated hearing loss can therefore accelerate mental decline and places you at a higher risk for developing dementia. The strain to hear affects your working memory as you are using so much of your mental energy to decipher what's being said that it impacts on your ability to remember. Did you know that your hearing and your emotions are closely linked? Sound and hearing are coupled to feelings. Just think about your favorite song for a minute, or think about a particular song that can take you back to a specific event or person in the past. Think about how you feel when you watch a horror movie and the sound effects have you sitting on the edge of your chair. In your brain, there is a very strong connection between the hearing center and the limbic system that regulates our emotions. Music is often used in anxiety treatment. Professional sportsmen and women listen to specific music and podcasts to motivate and build them up before a big match. In the way that human touch can be catalogued emotionally in our brains, the same happens with hearing. Researchers from the University of Pennsylvania have found links between sound and fear responses. Emotions are closely linked to perception, and very often our emotional responses really helps us deal with reality. For example, a fear response helps you escape a potentially dangerous situation and you will react quickly. Sound and emotions are linked in a fundamental way. Hearing is a crucial sense in our process of gathering and storing information for our safety and survival, as well as informing and enriching our emotional experiences as we make our way through the world. So, have you ever wondered if men's and hearing is different from women's? And in the literature, I could find two things. The first one is that females are more sensitive to sound than males. So yes, our ears are very special in that way. And the reason is that estrogen, the hormone, plays a role in the way our auditory system works. So there you have it, ladies. Yes, our ears are more sensitive than men's. And the second difference between men's and women's hearing is that according to the National Institute of Deafness and Other Communication Disorders, men between the ages of 20 and 69 are twice as likely as women to experience hearing loss. The disparity is likely due to employment and lifestyle. High noise jobs are mostly held by men, and men are more likely to do hunting and shooting and other recreational activities that involve loud sound levels. So let's talk about women and the specific risk factors to develop hearing loss. The literature suggests that the most common cause of hearing loss between the ages of 30 and 40 is excessive sound. Any loud sound has the potential to cause permanent noise-induced hearing loss, including listening to music via earphones or live music at a club or concert or at a sporting event. Loud sounds damage the delicate fine structures of the inner ear. If you ever attended a function where there was very loud sound and the next day you feel that your ears are still ringing and your hearing isn't quite what it used to be, usually that recovers within 24 hours. But if you expose your ears repeatedly to excessive loud noise, you might wake up one day with that ringing sound never going away and your hearing not recovering. If you are a smoker or if you are diabetic, you have a higher risk of sound causing permanent hearing loss because smoking and diabetes affect the metabolism of the inner ear and can cause you to be at high risk for the damage of fine structures in the inner ear. There is a type of hearing loss called otosclerosis, which means that the three small bones in your middle ears that I've shown you previously can calcify due to hormone levels. Men can get it too, but it's more common in females than in males due to hormonal changes. So that is two things specifically pertaining to women and to hearing loss. I don't know. Thank you so much for listening to this talk. I don't know, Andrea, if you guys want to take any questions now or if we are going to do that later on.
I think let's do that now while your presentation is still fresh in everyone's memory, Melanie. And I think that everyone is so intrigued. It was such an informative session. So I think people would definitely have questions for you. So I will just open it up to our guests. If you have any questions for the lovely Melanie, now is your chance. You can either unmute yourself and ask a question or type it in the chat box. So we'll just give that a few seconds to see if there's any hands raised, or perhaps if we have anybody typing in their question as well. But if there aren't any now, and if maybe you want to just ponder on the presentation a little bit more and you have a question for later on, that is perfectly fine. So we have quite a lovely lineup for you. We actually have this exciting session called a breakout room. So originally when we planned our event, we thought that we would have the pleasure of seeing each other face to face. Unfortunately, with the water crisis, we had to move to an online platform. So as you can see now, we are virtual, but we are still very excited. So the breakout room sessions that we will have a little bit later on would have been where we had our business stall interactions, where you would have went from stall to stall and visited the lovely business owners, learned more about their businesses. But now we will have those breakout room sessions so you can freely interact with our sponsors, with those business owners, ask your questions if you maybe don't have any or are afraid to ask it right now. And it's going to be very interactive, very informative, and hopefully we can take this further next year and keep it as an annual tradition. But you would also see in the chat box, I sent you the link for our website, thanks to Mr. Tian Kharbe, who has really assisted us so much with this. For our Faculty Engagement and Transformation Committee, we are going to have lots of events coming up that we will showcase on this website. Please join in so you can be family with us and you can see all the events we have lined up. You can blog to see if you have any interesting stories that you want to share with us or anything that maybe is on your mind, success stories, things that you need assistance with. But really, I hope that everybody is enjoying it thus far. I see some people say that they cannot hear me. I hope that that is not going to be too disruptive. I'm not sure if my maybe internet connection is too bad,
Sorry.
but if you can hear me now, please just let me know.
Andrea, whilst
Yes.
people are dropping their comments and confirming whether they can hear you on the chat, we've got 4 questions that I'd like to propose that Melanie maybe takes before we move over to our next speaker. So there's the first speaker that asks, how often should you have your hearing tested or your ears tested? So that's the first question. Amanda also posed a question asking around sound sensitivity, specifically looking at the wind noise in PE. Is that something that women are more prone to be sensitive towards? And does it affect your hearing? Amanda, correct me if my interpretation is not right there. And then the third question was asking around the career path. I'd like to suggest that we move that to the breakout rooms. And then the last one, if your hearing becomes impaired or damaged, does that mean you lose equilibrium or balance? So can we maybe suggest that Melanie takes those questions and then we can move over to the next speaker? But from my side, I can hear you perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Melanie. Please, if you would do us the honor of answering those questions and then we can move on. But you decide if you would like to address all of them now or if you would like to take some of them to the breakout room. I think if you could address all of them now, it would be beneficial to everyone, just in case there are questions that people had that were similar to these ones posed in the chat function. Okay, I just heard now that Melanie can't hear anything. So I think maybe what we can do is take those questions to the breakout room and a little bit later on, if that's okay with everybody. I think we're just having some technical difficulties right now, but I thank my colleagues for letting me know that this is the situation. Unfortunately, that is how technology is. So we just have to roll with it, and we will get to hear from Melanie a little bit later on. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce our next speaker, the lovely Dr. Ayanda Deliwe. Dr. Ayanda Deliwe is part of our Nelson Mandela University family within the Business and Economic Sciences faculty. Dr. Deliwe is currently the head of department for business management and has quite a lengthy resume. She is such a phenomenal young lady and is really an inspiration to so many people, being program director for BCom marketing, module coordinator for general and strategic management, module coordinator for purchasing and logistics, as well as marketing management. Dr. Deliwe describes herself as a goal-driven individual, which we can all attest to, who loves writing. And again, Dr. Deliwe is such an incredible researcher and really has set the tone for so many people. And personally, I can say that I'm such a huge fan because a lot of Dr. Deliwe's work can resonate with all of us from different fields, regardless of where you are, especially one of her papers that was on essential factors of successful e-learning. And for us, especially who have been thrust into this e-learning space, I think that was such an interesting topic for me, and it really inspired me so much. So I thank Dr. Deliwe for her incredible work and being such a motivation to us and for ladies and men everywhere. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce you to this remarkable lady, Dr. Ayanda Deliwe.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Wow, what an introduction. Trust you to take something small and to turn it into something that is so big. So as I'm listening to you introducing myself, I'm saying, is that really me? Is that Andrea being herself, the person that she is, who's always, for women, and having that lovely personality. So her introducing me in this way is something that would have been expected. So thank you so much for that introduction. I just want to greet all the beautiful women who have attended the women's event here today. And I also want to greet the men who have also joined us. And I want to thank you for joining us at this very prestigious event. And I want to thank the organizers for organizing this beautiful event. And I can't wait for the lineup today, listening to the other speakers when they talk and so forth. So I do not have any slides. So unfortunately, that means that you will be stuck with my face for the next 15 minutes. When I got an invite from Andrea to be one of the speakers today, my initial response was no, I just wanted to run. Because I was thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to talk about? Even though I was given a theme as to you need to talk about something like this, but still I was wondering, how do I now put it into a proper, presentation for the delegates, something that will be interesting for people to listen to. And I felt that the best way to tackle it is by just talking about my own experiences in terms of the COVID-19 and the lockdown and how that has affected me and the challenges that I faced and how I rose above those challenges. Excuse me. So that's basically what I'm going to be talking about, especially the first part. And then lastly, I'm just going to go on to some of the words of encouragement. Well, with the COVID-19, the lockdown, when the president announced the lockdown, at that time, I was on maternity leave. So for me, it was not a big deal that we were going on lockdown because I already felt that I was on lockdown because being a mom to a new baby meant that I had to breastfeed her. So when you are breastfeeding your baby, it means that you are on lockdown because you cannot go anywhere. So I didn't really mind at all, just the lockdown period. But little did I know that it meant more than that, because now it was not only me being on lockdown with the baby, I was on lockdown with the baby and the rest of the family. the husband was also going to be on lockdown with us, that meant now additional responsibilities on my side, where I had to now all of a sudden, every time in the morning, I had to make like a proper breakfast, lunchtime I have to make proper lunch, and then at dinner I had to provide a proper balanced meal in the evening. And before lockdown, the nanny was there. So we released her when it was lockdown so that she could go and lock down with her family. So it was really, really a challenge because I still have the small baby. That did not change. And it became even more of a challenge when, while still in lockdown, my maternity leave ended. So it became more of a challenge because now I had the baby to look after. At the same time, the whole family to look after, and I had to do my work, where I had to prepare my slides, because I was still teaching my slides with voiceovers and all of that. So it just became too hectic. It became too much. And I found myself working, doing the house duties during the day and working at night. And that was very exhausting because by the time I got to the time where I could actually work, I was so exhausted that I couldn't even concentrate on what I was doing. So it was really, really difficult. Then I decided, you know what, I need to start having that conversation with myself. I need to sit myself down and have that conversation with myself so that I can find out what is it that I value the most. Okay, and then I discovered that actually I value everything the most. I value my family and I value my work the most. Then I had to right there and then decide now how do I move forward? Because now this is my current situation. We are on lockdown. There are so many things that are happening. So how can I make all of these things work without me burning out, without me being exhausted as I get every day? And then I was like, okay, now for me to do this, I need to start planning my days in a different way. I need to start doing things in a different way. And I also need to have that conversation with my husband as well, because he's also involved and he's also part of the challenge that I'm facing, because he's kind of expecting me to have like proper breakfast in the morning, also to prepare proper lunch during the day. So I decided that, okay, I'm going to have that conversation with my husband so that we can sit down and work around this to find out what is the best way in order for us to do this. Even though at that time I did have a nanny, but it was not helping much. So we had that conversation and then decided that, you know what, we need to change the way that in which we were doing things. Yes, breakfast will definitely be there, but then when it comes to lunchtime, like we were doing before lunch, making lunch beforehand so that when it comes time for lunchtime, I will not spend time busy making that lunch. I would instead use the time for my work. So if we have that pre-packed lunch, even if he is here in the house, that would actually work for me. So I had to change my schedule completely. And another thing that was happening was whenever I heard my daughter crying, I would rush there. That means that I did not really trust the nanny that much that she could actually look after my daughter, and so I had to do some adjustments in that regard as well. Ask myself, if I was not here, if I was back at work, I would have had to trust the nanny to look after my daughter. So I made those life changing decisions up to a point where I decided that every morning when I wake up, I need to make time for work from 8 o'clock right up until 4 o'clock. And then after 4, then that will be family time and so forth. And I found that in doing that, I will get more time to sleep at night, my nice 8-hour sleep, making me more productive the following day so that I can be able to work throughout the day from 8 o'clock until 4 o'clock in that afternoon. So I found that the trick to everything is that if you get enough rest, if you get enough sleep, you are able to be more productive during the day than rather burning the midnight oil and working at night. If you do that, you are so exhausted the following day, you will not be able to do anything else. So I found that really works for me. And in between, I also made sure that I make time for my running because I love running. So I will make time for my running, maybe between 3 and 4 o'clock, I will go for a run, come back, and then do the cooking and everything else. So it's very important that whenever things get too tough, you need to regroup. You need to bring yourself to a place where you have that serious conversation with yourself, find out what it is that you value the most so that you can plan accordingly. So I remember when I took up the position of the head of the business management department, one of the comments that I received from people, it was not that it was a negative comment, it was a very positive comment, was that you are very brave. And then that is when now sometimes we as women, because we grew up being told that women cannot do certain things. As a woman, you cannot do this, it's only for men, or as a woman, you cannot do that. So it ended up, it's actually leading to us having some self-doubts whenever we get certain opportunities. So the moment the person said to me that you are very brave, that is when I started to have this self-doubt, asking myself, am I brave or am I stupid? But we need to start moving away from doubting ourselves as women and believing more in ourselves, because that's when I really decided that I don't think that I am stupid by taking this up, because where I was as a lecturer within the business management department, I was very comfortable. I was in my comfort zone. So this position has taken me out of my comfort zone. And sometimes you need to be to get out of your comfort zone in order for you to be comfortable. Because once you become too comfortable in one thing, you are no longer challenged. You are no longer in a position where you want to achieve more. So it's very important that we always push ourselves to the limit and we move away from that point of comfort and get out of our comfort zone. And another time when I was challenged as well in terms of when it comes to self-doubt was when I had just finished my master's and I wanted to publish. Then my master's supervisor contacted me because I had 2 papers that I wanted to publish, which I had done on my own. And he said that I will not be able to publish these papers on my own because I was still a new academic, and I had to be linked to someone who is an distinguished academic, who has been in the field for a while, for my papers to be accepted. Again, self-doubt immediately kicked in. I started doubting myself again because he made me to believe that I was not going to be able to publish the papers on my own. But I decided again to move beyond that self-doubt and say, no, wait a minute. Let me try and do this on my own and see what happens. And I did that, and the paper was published. And even if the paper was not published, it is okay to fail, because it's not that you have failed. It is about what do you do with that failure that matters. I have failed many times. A lot of women who are in leadership positions will tell you that before they got to where they are, and even when now, since they are at the position where they are, they have failed many times to get to where they are. So it's not about you failing, it's about what do you do about the failure, what was the decisions that you take after you have failed. So we as women, we need to start challenging the status quo. That is very important, because we cannot say this is how it has been done over the years and this is how it is. So we need to start challenging the status quo, because that is the only way that we can grow as individuals. And that is the only way, as Rosenbini put it, that we can take up space. We need to start taking up space. And just before I close, I just want to talk about, there is a poem by Nelson Mandela, which I love so much, and that is the poem about our deepest fear. And just to read a few lines from that poem is that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And then that poem, I'm not going to go too much into it. It further goes on to say, where a person asks, who am I to be beautiful? Who am I to be gracious, and so forth. So in your academic spaces, you might be asking yourself, who am I to get this award? Who am I to do this? But you need to ask yourself, the biggest question is, who are you not to? So that is the question that you should be asking, rather than the negative question on who am I to do something, or who am I to do this. So it is about time that we as women, we take up space, and we must not be afraid to dream. We must not be afraid to dream. We must not be afraid to take up the opportunities, and we must remember that nothing is impossible. I always believe that for the mere fact that there is someone out there who is doing it or who has done it, it means that you can also do it. And I also believe that even if no one has ever done something before, that does not mean that it cannot be done. It's just that it is waiting for the right person to take up that opportunity or to do that particular thing. So it's very important that as women, we need to take up space, and we need to ask, who am I not to, and let us challenge the status quo. So in ending, I just want to wish all the beautiful women a wonderful Women's Month. And I want to wish you all the best with the second semester, especially since it is a very short semester. Thank you, ladies, for joining in, and thank you for listening to me.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Ayanda Diliwe. I'm sure everybody now loves her as much as I do. And every time I get to speak to Dr. Diliwe, I'm always like, oh, my word, girl crush. I absolutely love this human being who is so humble and so inspirational and does so many incredible things for our university. So thank you so much, Dr. Diliwe. Before I hand over to Nomta to introduce the next speaker, I just want to tell you two things. Number one, we are very excited because of our exceptional sponsors. We have the opportunity to give away free goodie bags. So the first 100 participants, and I see we are less than 100 today, so that means that everybody here qualifies for a goodie bag, and this is from Saimi, Absa, and Vovotello. So thank you so much to our sponsors, and thank you to everybody here. You have now qualified for an incredible goodie bag, and we will be having pickup zones. So we will let you know at the end about those pickup zones. And I really can say that you are in for a treat. But before we get to that, and before we introduce our next speaker, I want to see if everybody is listening and everybody is attentive. The first trivia question and what we have up for grabs is 2 Vovotello vouchers sponsored by the owner of Vovotello's, Miss Suzanne Mayers. The first question is, and you please use your hands or the chat function, the first hand raised will get the opportunity to speak. What item of clothing did men wear first that women have stolen and made our own? Marina, I see your hand shot up first. What is your answer? Marina?
Sorry, I typed it in the chat function. It's high heels.
Perfect, yay! Congratulations, Marina. You have won 2 Vovotello vouchers, and they will be given to you in due course. Now, without any further ado, I will hand over to Nomta to introduce our next speaker.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I was tempted to raise my hand there, but I thought I don't think myself and you qualify for any of the competitions. So I'm envious of you there. So do enjoy that voucher. And without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce our next speaker. Before I do that, Brenda, please do thank your organization on our behalf for the wonderful sponsorship that they've given to our event, and also for the long-standing relations that we have built with your bank over the years. So thank you so much. Brenda is not only an alumni within the university, I think I'll share, ladies and gentlemen, that she's also currently doing her DBA. So Brenda loves us and we love her also in return. So thank you so much, Brenda, for not only choosing NMU as your study partner, but for trusting us with your knowledge enhancement and obviously the impact that you want to have in the banking sector. Ladies and gentlemen, Brenda has 16 years of banking experience, and she's mainly in relationship banking, working with business banking, SMEs, commercial firms, and also private banking. I also want to briefly highlight that she is currently the regional head of key projects within the Absa Bank, and I know she's very much passionate not only about Africanity, which is what Absa is very well known for, but she's also passionate about women empowerment. In her sector, I think she's got two, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, or three beautiful girls. She also empowers them. So thank you so much, Brenda, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Nomta, and thank you to everyone that's in this call this morning. I was quite excited because I saw Andrea on Friday, and I was like, Andrea, I don't have a presentation. But as part of that, I'm happy that Dr. Delue also just mentioned that she doesn't have a presentation, but really this morning, as much as I'm going to be touching on women in banking and women in general, I really thought to myself to come to this audience and really just share my story. And I think it might impact some of you. There might be one or two things that will impact some of you as well in terms of the messaging. But as part of today, and I think really as women, there's so many facets to us that I wouldn't know where to start and where to end. But my story, as you see on the presentation, my name is Brenda Thandiwe Peacock, and I've put in the Thandiwe part simply because there's always some sense of confusion when people see my name, when it's stated as Brenda Peacock and you haven't met me. And when I speak to you telephonically versus when we meet face to face, I normally see a sense of confusion in terms of, is this that Brenda Peacock that I spoke to? But to create clarity on the call, and please stay with me, I'm going to get somewhere with the story, is my name Thandiwe was really because, and as African people on the call and as part of the African culture, we know that we name our children and there's meaning to the names that we give our children. And mine is Thandiwe because when I was born, my mother said, loved one, and that she will love me because I'm born from a Xhosa mother and a Sotho father that I've never met. And my mother had to take up that responsibility for raising me, and that's where the name Thandiwe came from. The reason why I'm clarifying the place where I came from in terms of my African roots is really because growing up, I grew up in a colored community, and that is within the northern areas of the Eastern Cape called Bethelsdorp. And it was always quite interesting to me growing up, and when I look back and I reflect, there was about 5 of us as kids in the house, and all the kids spoke Afrikaans. But all the elders spoke isiXhosa. So my granny would talk to us in isiXhosa and we would respond in Afrikaans. And when I think back, that was quite interesting because for some other reason, there were almost 2 cultures in the home because we went to Afrikaans schools and we mostly spoke Afrikaans, which is why you've got the accent that I've got, which is more Afrikaans than Xhosa. But as part of that, I think the shock for me really came when I had to go to university, where from a university perspective, you're now expected to learn in English. And from schooling, everything is done in Afrikaans. So the shock to my system when I get to class and I don't even know what BODMAS means. So you almost have to relearn and unlearn everything that you were taught up to grade 12. And you need to work 2-3 times harder to actually pass. And the first year, I must say, and I studied at Vista University at the Missionville campus at the time, which obviously now is also part of NMU. And the only reason why I could go and study and do my undergrad was because at the time, there was an opportunity for us to study via NEFSAS. and I'm not sure, and I know everyone knows about NEFSAS, but as part of the work that women have done in this country, and Andrea reflected around the 1956, more than 20,000 women who actually went out for their rights. And as part of those women that went out, we've received benefits because of that as an African and a South African people. And I think that's why we also celebrate Women's Month. And it should be something that continues, because generations to come will still continue to reap those benefits. And I think what I love about Women's Month is that it's not Women's Month for Black women, for Indian women, or for colored women, but it's Women's Month for all women. And really, as part of that, as a banking industry and as an individual, a lot of work to be done in empowering women for them to almost have that confidence that they can. And I think when I started out, and I love the story that Dr. Deliwa has just shared, because a lot of that actually relates to some of my experiences as well. As you start out as a woman, or my personal experience is that you don't have the confidence. You don't have the faith, you don't have the belief that you can succeed. You are faced with many failures. And studying with NEFSAS also poses a risk, because every year going back to campus, you start afresh and there's no guarantee that your studies will be paid for. And for me, the only way that I could get through my 3-year degree was really to make sure that I actually passed for that year in order to get in for the next year. But I'm happy to say when I finished my degree, I almost had 3,000 Rand that was outstanding to be paid. So the government of the time actually paid for my degree. And it almost means that as individuals and as women, we then have to give back, because it was so much that was given to us as women. And I think just giving back doesn't have to be in a big way. There's so many different ways in which we can actually just go back and contribute and empower other women. But as part of today's conversation, ladies, I really just wanted to start there to give you a view that where you come from is not an indicator of who you will become going forward. And I think when I spoke to Nomta, the brief that I received was to speak about success. And I asked myself, what does success mean? Success to me means different things to what success means to the 87 people that's on the call this morning. And the scary part in that equation of success, it's a constant moving target. So when I started off, it was really to be able to provide for my family at that time, because my mother was, she wasn't actually employed. So I needed to go out and provide. And studying was one of the ways that I thought would be able to give me that provision. And at the time when I started in the bank in 2006, from Port Elizabeth, I moved to the Western Cape and I worked as a financial advisor. And the easiest term for an advisor is actually a broker. So I had to leave the Eastern Cape, went to the Western Cape, and started as a first batch of African, Indian, and colored financial advisors at the time. And it wasn't an easy feat, I can tell you now, because as an advisor, you don't have a guaranteed income and you constantly have to work for that income. But I stayed in the role. I took the learnings in terms of learning what it actually means to work in the banking sector and learning how to deal with customers, give advice, and understand financial products and financial solutions. But as part of that, I then got the opportunity to move back to the Eastern Cape and work for our business bank division as a receptionist with a degree. So I came to PE and I started in Newton Park branch as a receptionist 2007. And as part of that, I stayed within that role for 2 years. But one of the advantages and really as part of driving and empowering women that the bank was quite good at was to identify talent. And I was one of those people that was identified as talent. And I then had the opportunity to go and work within our private banking 2 years after I started as a receptionist. So the reason why I'm highlighting that is also to say, when you are given with an opportunity, you need to maximize that opportunity. Some of the key challenges that women actually face within the banking sector and any other sector is really the fact that we assume that if we work hard enough, that our hard work will pay off. But guys, in many instances, it doesn't. And that's the learning that I've taken in the banking sector. Yes, hard work is an absolute must. But as part of that, you also need to understand the game of your industry. So within the banking industry, the game is really to make sure that you network, you collaborate, that you don't just stay within your specific sphere of department, which is what we call it, but you actually get your name out there for people to know who you are. The other thing that we also do as women is we want to work hard, and we do work hard, but we sit in a corner and we expect to be promoted. And Chuela, who is our managing executive, always says, no one is coming, which is one of the biggest challenges that we face as women. And I think they call it the Cinderella syndrome. No one is going to come to save you. You need to get up. You need to get out of your corner. You need to make sure that you get noted. And as part of that, you need to speak up. You can't sit in the background, because what we see is that most of the work from a productivity perspective does come from women. But when you see that the recognition for that actually goes to our male counterparts, because they then take your concept and they sell your concept, but you're the one that's doing the work in the back end. So I almost want to say to the women that, guys, we need to find our voices, and let's not doubt what we bring to the table as females. Trust me, I don't think that any bank, any university, or any of the institutions out there would be able to fully function without women. The last piece that I've also noted is the fact that we don't necessarily seek out coaches, mentors, or sponsors. And I'm going to tell you why that is important. So as part of the time that I was in private bank, and I just mentioned that our managing executive now, Chuela Mhlantla, who was the regional executive at the time, I went to her and I approached her and I asked her, can you please mentor me? Because at the time, she was actually the only female that was part of the leadership team. There was no other females within that space. And that is how many years ago? Almost 9 years ago. There has been changes in terms of female leadership within the province, because I'm part of a team of 9 leaders. And as part of that team, I form part of the provincial executive leadership team. And there's 2 other females that's also part of that team, which just shows you that there has been progression in terms of the advancement of women. So ladies, please don't be your own obstacle. I think with the level of education that we have, and the learned people on the call would know that there's a high level of females that are fully qualified. And one of the biggest impediments from a woman perspective is that we want to tick all the boxes. So if you get a vacancy and you see it on the vacancy board, you want to make sure that you comply with all the requirements. But if I look at my male counterparts, they go in there without necessarily having the experience. Some instances, they don't even have the qualifications, but they're confident enough. And that confidence is normally what gets them that specific job. So ladies, I really want to encourage you to take up the opportunities. There are many opportunities, but it's really up to us to seek out those opportunities, to take back our voice. And I think one of the books that I have on my book list is really the book from Sheryl Sandberg, where she says that as women, we actually need to lean in. And I really want to encourage the ladies on the call that it's about time that you lean in, because remember, your success is not just for yourself. It's for every other girl, child who's currently in a place where they don't necessarily have the confidence, where they don't see enough women within leadership. where they actually need guidance and someone that will just give them that push and give them some form of guideline that they're actually able and they can achieve success as women. So, and it's our responsibility as each and every woman on the score to actually support other women and help each other to actually get to places where we need to be. Because remember, decision making happens in leadership. If we don't have sufficient representation within that leadership, the voices of women won't be heard, which will then impact all other women and other generations that will come behind us. So I just wanted to highlight that piece, but also say that from a banking perspective, and because I'm talking to intellectuals, the biggest challenges that we do see from a skills gap is really within the technology space. And I know that many of you know that as far as industry, not just banking, we're really moving into an era where we want to digitize almost everything that we do. And with that digitization comes more skills that's required from a digital perspective. And the gaps that we currently see, and this is really coming from the Banking Association of South Africa, is around cybersecurity. There is an increase in terms of risk that sits within the cybersecurity space because of the extent to which we use online platforms. We also see gaps within the program developing space, data science, as well as statistics. And the reason why I'm raising this is that this gap is more so within females than what there is within our male counterparts. So it's really to find a balance for the girl child to have that confidence, because I almost think it's I'm not going to say it's a blockage within our minds where we think we're not analytical, and I'm not too sure where that comes from, but I'm sure there's quite a few papers that would give us clarity in terms of why girls don't necessarily take up opportunities within technical subjects. There has been improvement within this, but from a banking perspective, these are the skills that we're currently challenged with and that we need to close out to make sure that women continues to be part of the leadership spectrum, but also that we onboard women to be able to take advantage of these opportunities. And the way that the bank makes these opportunities available is really around our annual intake of learners. And this is not just from ABSA's perspective. So all banks have an obligation to empower not just ladies, but to empower youth. And as part of that, every year there's an intake for either matriculants as well as an intake for learners who's got a degree to be able to work within the banking sector. And that then becomes our initial phase of making sure that we grow our pipeline of skills. And this really is the kind of skills that we're looking for. And a lot of that sits within the maths and the science fields. Then ladies, maybe and gents, my apologies, maybe just to give you a view that currently from a leadership perspective, I am responsible for 715 employees within the Eastern Cape as well as the Southern Cape. And my role is really one where I need to make sure that our employees are future fit for the fourth industrial revolution, if I can call it that, because we're so used to doing things manually. And COVID in itself is almost enforcing that we go into a space of almost digitizing a lot of the functions that were previously done manually. But as part of that, we want to retain our employees. So we are busy making sure that employees have got the necessary qualifications, that we reskill as well as upskill employees. And I'm responsible to do that within the province. But I'm also responsible to make sure that financing is made available from a bursary perspective to allow these learners to actually go and improve their qualifications in the right fields. And from an annual basis perspective, the ABSA Bank from a provincial side normally looks at 71 people per annum to put through a bursary, which could either be in the form of a learnership or it could also be in the form of a pure bursary. And I normally recommend for most of the learners that's on a pure bursary to go via NMU because I just have so much faith and confidence in this institution in terms of the delivery and the quality of the work and the quality of learners that they deliver. And that's really just from personal experience perspective. And it's really quite nice to see Prof. May on the call, who was my supervisor for my MBA dissertation. And just thank you so much for your contribution that you've also made in terms of supporting me to be where I am. And that also just speaks to women empowering other women. Guys, I don't think it would suffice if I did not have some form of banking conversation, since I am in the banking industry. And with what we're currently seeing around the twists and the turns and the changes because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we were provided with a relief in terms of the reduction in the repo rate when the COVID pandemic actually started. But we have also seen that earlier this year, and especially in the last month, that the repo rate as well as the prime interest rate has increased to the extent that the repo rate is currently sitting at rates that's actually since 2002 with the latest 0.75 basis points increase. The prime interest rate also has increased, currently sitting at 9.25. And the reason why I'm highlighting this is that it actually means that we need to make changes in how we actually spend and how we use our finances. And as part of that, I think the war in Ukraine has not helped any of us in terms of the increase in fuel prices, which actually then also increased the inflation rate. So there's so many things currently from a finance perspective. I don't want to go into the Eskom conversation and the increase in electricity rates, also the increase where a lot of workers are looking for an increase in their salaries. And I always say I would rather earn what I'm currently earning than not have an income at all. So the responsibility and the reason why I'm raising this is really for us as women as well as men on the call to be more frugal with our finances. And almost looking at our finances and cutting those things out that's not an actual need. Because when I looked at my finances and my income is not that bad because the banks actually, if you want to work for the bank, they don't pay that badly. And when I looked at my income with the recent increases, the difference from a rand value perspective around how much it's increased, it's actually quite substantial. So it's to go back to the drawing table and look at where you can cut costs. Please reduce your credit card debt as far as possible, because from an interest rate perspective, credit cards can go up to 20-23% interest rates. Your personal loans as well. I prefer a personal loan over a credit card because a personal loan has got a lifespan. 6 years, you pay it up and you're done. With a credit card, it's revolving. You can sit with that debt for a lifetime. So I really want to urge everyone on the call, go back to your finances, review your finances, and let's cut out those things that's not really as much of a need. And I know, ladies, we love our shoes, we love our makeup, but let's try and see how we can cut on those expenses. And really for me, as far as the banking sector is concerned, there has been a lot of work that has been done in terms of us supporting our communities. And I'm not going to list what those things are, but we really want to be a force for good within our communities and contribute not just as a bank where it becomes a transactional relationship, but also looking at other areas where in our communities there's support that's required. And we're doing a lot of work within schools. We are doing a lot of work within the townships, and you will see some of ABSA's marketing that's gone up within townships. We are also doing a lot of work within our agri environment because we understand the importance of that sector and how it also contributes to industry. So Nomta, I can go on the whole day, but I really just wanted to leave that message with all the ladies on the call that you are more than able to achieve your dreams, and even the guys as well. If you have a goal, that goal is more than achievable. Don't just look at your current circumstance. Don't just look at the extent to which your finances are at. But I think for me, I've always been encouraged to first look at what is my goal. And then everything else then comes because I've made it clear within my mind and I put it into the universe that this is what I want. And in many instances, I have been able to achieve those things without necessarily having the finances up front. And as I'm currently sitting, really struggling with my doctorate, and I'm asking myself, why do we do this? I said to my husband, why am I doing this to myself? I've got an MBA, that's enough, eh? Why still do a doctorate? And maybe Dr. Delue must give me insights in the other doctors on the call. Because we constantly, and I think this also speaks to the concept of success. And that's why I said it's a moving target, because once you've achieved the one goalpost, you want to move to the next one because you've stretched yourself in such a way that you're able to take on more. But I think we also need to be very cognizant of the fact that as mothers and as wives and as sisters, and bearing a responsibility for so many other than ourselves, we really need to take care of our mental wellness. And I've seen a lot of this in the last 2 to 3 years in terms of women taking up so much, but not necessarily taking care of themselves as individuals. And I remember for myself, 2 months ago, I said to my husband, I'm empty, I can't give anything, I'm done. You're going to have to run your house because I can't do this anymore. And that is just an indication that we take on so much and we don't necessarily reflect in terms of whether we're still able to carry all these things. But as Dr. Delue also said, we need to use our support systems. If you're married, you need to let your husband take off some of those responsibilities. Because I think one of the biggest challenges is most women, and I'm one of them, I'm a bit of a control freak and I want to control everything because I need to make sure that it's done a certain way. But I think from our personal wellness perspective, it doesn't necessarily serve us well because we end up having all these things on our tables and we want to fulfill and do all these things. But I think from a practicality perspective, we just need to be careful in terms of how we go about that and also share that responsibility. So I really just want to say thank you to Nomta and the university as well as Andrea for the invite. I think I've taken so much from the ladies that's spoken this morning. A lot of encouragement, guys, and we actually need this more than just in August when it's Women's Month. I always wonder, does people think that women can't speak during the year and we can only speak in Women's Month? But there's a lot of work that we are doing in the back end as women, and I fully have all the respect for each and every woman that's going out there against all odds and making a difference, and also making sure that you're pushing the boundaries in terms of what you as an individual can achieve, and also having the mindset that it's more than possible, that you can do it, as difficult as it might be. But please, I think the advice to myself is to take it one day at a time. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brenda. I can't imagine the excitement and the reactions that you would have gotten in the physical room, but I'm certain wherever people are dialing from, whether it's their office, their home, or for our students that are joining us today, whether they're sitting in the library, I'm certain that everyone could connect with all the points that you've raised. I think you've given us a holistic female perspective from the finances, which are very key. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen or colleagues, I've cut down on makeup really because things are tightening up and with the little ones being quite young and trying to get to everything, we obviously need to also take care of our finances. Ultimately, they also take care of our well-being in the end. So thank you so much for that. And as you were mentioning the book that you would like to read, without imposing my reading preference, I'm currently reading a book by Thandeka Gubule. When you said your name is Tandiwe, I thought Tandeka. Maybe your book is also coming there, Brenda. And this book is about Thuli Madontela's strive to power. It says, no longer whispering to power. And as you were mentioning that, the time has come for women to start acting without fear or favor. And you shared good examples from your banking sector or your industry. So thank you so much. And thank you for once again sponsoring us with the goodies for our gift bags. I'll now give over to Andrea to introduce our next item. I am also cautious of time, Andrea, and I want to also alert you that we're actually going towards injury time. But with that said, thank you. Back to you, Andrea.
Yes, thank you, Nomsa. No, time flies when you're having fun. Sometimes we can't contain ourselves, so we just have to enjoy and savor every moment. And hopefully our guests and colleagues joining us would be able to stay throughout the duration of this event. I just want to mention as well that Brenda has been so instrumental to making this event a success. Number one, we would email her over and over again, and she would never be upset. She would never get annoyed with us. When she says women need to support other women, she really means this. And we have seen it with her because she has really advocated on our behalf to ABSA to get us all these wonderful goodies. And I really do think that we were robbed of an opportunity to see her in person and see what she had to bring to the table. So from our side, Brenda, thank you so much. And, you know, meeting you in person as well was so fantastic. And you really are such an inspiration to us. So we really thank you for the part that you've played today. And we really look forward to the breakout room sessions. I know there are going to be lots of questions, especially because you have incredible advice for us. But without any further ado, as we are going to try and move quickly with time, we don't want to keep people too long, especially on a Monday. People are busy. We are going to have 2 more trivia questions. We have more vouchers up for grabs, and then we are going into an entertainment number. We have a song by Miss Sibabalwa Ngweu, who we are very excited to see. We always love to see our lovely ladies singing and to celebrate and to have fun. So without any further ado, the 2 more trivia questions, and I think just to make it easier, let's not use the chat function because I think answers may be lost. So the fastest hand raised would get an opportunity to answer the question and would get 2 Vuvuzela vouchers. So we have 4 more up for grabs, 2 more questions, so 2 vouchers each, and let's get straight into it. So fingers on the button. Who is considered the mother of our nation in South Africa? All right, so we have a hand raised. Oyintanda, what is your answer?
Is it not Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela?
Yes, 100% correct. Absolutely. Our first lady eternally. Thank you so much for that. You have won 2 Vuvuzela vouchers. Yay. That is absolutely incredible. The next and last question and 2 more Vuvuzela vouchers up for grabs. When is International Women's Day? All right, the fastest hand is Sange. What is your answer, Sange? Sange, can you hear us? I can see you are unmuted.
Sange, please don't feel shy.
All right, Sange, unfortunately, we're going to have to move on to the next hand. Leslie Ann?
The 9th of August.
No, sorry, International Women's Day. So Josephine?
I was also going to say the 9th.
All right, so we'll go on to the next hand, and that is Amanda Jacobs.
International 8th of March.
Perfect. Yay. All right. Well done. The International Women's Day date is the 8th of March and is celebrated globally in acknowledgement of our wonderful women. Thank you so much to all our participants. And now we're going to have Tian play the recording of Sibabalwe's beautiful voice. So everybody is in for a lovely treat. Thank you.
He gives me peace of mind. 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 He gives me peace. He gives me peace. He gives me peace. He gives me peace. Ingaba uthunyelwe kum ukundikhumbuza ngothando luka Baba. Ingaba uthunyelwe kum ukundikhumbuza ngothando luka Baba. Xa ndibona yena ndiyazi, ndibona mna. Xa ndibona yena ndibona uYehova. He gives me peace of mind. 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 Uthando olungazenziyo, uthando olungazenzisiyo. Ndiyamthanda, ndiyamthanda, ndiyamthanda. Igama lakhe othandwayo, igama lakhe othandwayo. Undipholisa engqondweni, undipholisa enhlizweni, undipholisa emoyeni. Uyandipholisa, undipholisa emoyeni, undipholisa engqondweni, undipholisa enhlizweni. Uyandipholisa. Uthandwa nguYehova, uthandwa zizihlobo zakhe, uthandwa lusapho lwakhe. Uthandwa ndim, uthandwa nguYehova, uthandwa lusapho lwakhe, uthandwa zizihlobo zakhe, uthandwa ndim. He gives me peace of mind.
Wow, what a blessing. Just such a peaceful and exceptional song. I see that we have a hand raised. Sisipo, is there something you would like to add to this?
Oh no, sorry, I was just throwing a thumbs up, so maybe I made a mistake.
No, perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you. We have an exciting new session now for breakout rooms, which Tian will assist us with. But before we get into that, I just want to remind everybody about our month-long sanitary drive for the Mold Women's Shelter in Coston. So please ensure that you assist with us if you are able to, and please also spread the word to your friends and your family. The more, the better. The more contributions and donations we can get, the more of a blessing it will be to those women. Remember, we are raising awareness to social ills such as gender-based violence and showing our love and support to our fellow women in need. So without any further ado, we are going into our virtual business stalls, which is our Microsoft Teams breakout sessions. So I hope everybody enjoys and engages and interacts. It is only going to be 15 minutes long, and then you will automatically come back into this space. So I'll see you soon, everyone.
Any other questions from this session? I know there were other questions posed earlier in the chat, just after my talk. Do you want me to address those now?
Yes, Melanie, I think that that would be beneficial. I think that a lot of people were quite eager to hear the answers to that because
Yes.
we are all so intrigued about our ears. So please go for it.
All right, so there was a question earlier on. I just want to scroll up in the chat. Marina, you asked, thank you so much for that question about how regularly should you have your hearing checked, which is a very good question. So if you have, if you're healthy and you don't have any issues with your ears, the recommendation is that you should have a hearing check once every decade. So every 10 years, you should have your hearing checked. If you have issues with your ears, if you're somebody that has recurrent ear infections or you work in a high noise area, you should have an annual checkup. From the age of 60, age-related hearing loss starts kicking in for 3 out of 10 adults. So from age 60, one should have an annual checkup. If I see a patient year on year and their hearing is stable, then one can do it every 2 or 3 years, but to be on the safe side, one should start with once a year. Many places now offer free hearing screening tests. I see that Specsavers, for example, at Walmer Park offers free hearing screening. So there are free hearing screenings available, just if you want to double check your hearing status. Otherwise, you're very welcome to contact my practice as well to set up a screening test. Such a pity we couldn't do hearing screenings today at the conference, but yeah, maybe we can work around that. One of the other questions had to do with how do you qualify as an audiologist? So currently in South Africa, there are 5 universities that offer a postgraduate, a pregraduate 4-year degree in audiology, and that is the University of Pretoria, the University of Witwatersrand, KwaZulu-Natal, UCT, and then there's a university in Pretoria North that I'm not so familiar with called Sefaku Makgatsu University. They also offer a 4-year degree, a undergraduate qualification, and then there's also obviously postgraduate where you can do your master's or doctorate in audiology. I studied at the University of Stellenbosch many years ago when I qualified. the University of Stellenbosch offered a dual qualification. So I qualified as a speech therapist and an audiologist, but subsequently the course has changed where they split the two professions. So Stellenbosch now only offers speech therapy degree. So UCT would be the closest university that will offer you the audiology degree. And then there was very important questions around cleaning of ears. You know, earbuds is such a contentious issue because unfortunately people tend to stick earbuds too deep into their ear. And in the process of doing that, they pushing the earwax deeper into the ear canal. If earwax touches the eardrum, it's excruciatingly painful. I saw somebody posted in the chat that they had pain in the ear for a few days after using an earbud. So it's very possible that the earwax was pushed deeper into the ear. And the only way to get that wax out would be to irrigate the ear. And in some instances, an ear, nose and throat specialist will have to suction it out of the ear. An earbud can also puncture the eardrum if you stick it in too deep. Also, damaging those three little ossicles or bones that sits behind the eardrum. So as a rule of thumb, we'd say do not use earbuds at all. If you take an earbud and you put your fingers just behind that little white cotton tip, you can clean the entrance of the ear canal and the outside of the ear, but please don't stick it deeper into the ear. If you're concerned about earwax, I would recommend that you go to a clinic like Dis-Chem or Clicks, where there's a sister to have a look in your ear, and they will be able to tell you if there is actually excessive earwax in the ear or not. That's one part of your body where you cannot see what's going on, so you're going to need to rely on a professional to do that for you, and then from there decide if it's time to irrigate the ear. Most people have to have their ears irrigated a few times in their lifetime. And some people in my practice actually have to do it every 3 or 4 months because their ears actually produce so much earwax that it needs to be cleaned out quite regularly. Some people just have a lot of earwax. It's like having an oily skin. We cannot really explain why that is, but some people's ears just produce a lot of wax. Just remember, earwax are important. It's an important part of your body. It's quite yucky for most people, but it actually protects the ear from dust, as we said earlier in the talk. And most people don't know that earwax actually also has a bad smell for insects. So it prevents creepy crawlies from getting into your ear canal when you're sleeping, especially when you're camping or you're outside. And then the products like Evacuax, the one that I've showed you earlier, water-based product, that's something that's safe to use. You can rinse your own ears once a week with a solution. There's nothing in the product that's harmful. It's a safe product to use. And then you can clean your ears yourself at regular intervals. We recommend once a week. Andrea, I'm not sure if there's any other questions that you would like me to address.
From my side, I think that we don't have any other questions that were set forward. I didn't get any other emails. So yes, if you have any other questions for Melanie, please feel free to share it in the chat function and we will address it a little bit later on. But thank you so much, Melanie, for sharing all your informative information with us. I know personally with my struggles, hearing from you and someone who is so warm and compassionate and so approachable as well. I think that we all feel so much comfort in that as well. And we really want to run to you to get our hearing tested as well. So thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I just want to apologize for the 2 breakout rooms. I know their activity in Vovotelos. There was just some technical difficulty, but Suzanne Mayo will be presenting a little bit later on. And the breakout room ended up taking place in the common area for Nodia Hearing Solutions. So I think that there was just a little bit of confusion there, but with Ndingamtu Nam, our amazing NGO that focuses on mental health of young people. I'm sure everybody has heard a lot and has learned a lot from the incredible Miss Patisanani Izzy Mbokwana. And we are really so excited to have her as a partner to our university. We also have ABSA with Miss Brenda Peacock that took place. And we had the Saimi breakout room as well. So I hope everybody has enjoyed that. And it has been a blessing to everybody. So without any further ado, I want to get straight into the next speaker. We have Miss Bridget Mahlangu, who is from the MOLD organization, and that is the women's shelter that we are approaching to assist for the month of August. They do so much of great work. They assist women from ages 18 all the way up to 60, if I'm correct, and they have really a number of people that they are assisting, and anybody who requires assistance is welcome through their doors. And obviously, we know that in South Africa, gender-based violence and violence against women and children are really still so rife, even in the 21st century. And we really are grateful for organizations such as MOLD to assist us. So thank you so much, Bridget, and we are so honored to have you with us today.
Thank you very much, Andrea. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be here, to speak to our guests and everybody else who's listening here on this MS Teams meeting. So I must just say that, wow, as a young professional myself, I've been greatly impacted by what was spoken today. And it's nice, there's this African proverb that says, indlela ibuzwa kwabaphambili, which simply means that, you learn from other people who've walked the same path that you're taking. And in listening to our previous speakers and learning quite a lot, I can say that it's empowering for me as well. And, I didn't know that an ear is such a delicate organ, and it's like it's so unusual how such a small organ can impact your life in such a drastic way. And I must say, thank you very much, Melanie. It was really, it was really informative for me. So I guess all of us are booking those appointments by the end of this week. And another thing that I wanted to say is with regards to, our speakers. I love the fact that our speakers were mentioning, giving us a brief, what can I say, quick look into their personal life and mentioning that they have families, they have husbands. So we're not really looking at, it's not only career focus, but there's still that element of the knowing the importance of a family as a structure and its contribution to the society itself. And I must say that when Andrea was saying that, Bridget, I will need you to speak about GBV, I was like, very interesting. Very much interesting, and especially when we are in a climate whereby we have fought so much, or can I say that those that came before us have fought so much. Your Brenda, like I can see women that have paved the way for us to get into such spaces and stuff like that. And you look at the political climate where a woman is now, there's attempts to reduce a woman into just a birth-giving human being or whatever that's going on. It was inspiring for me, particularly to hear professionals that that are taking space in different industries that are saying, we are women and we're taking space. We are more than what the agenda, that is the propaganda that is being pushed out there, that our only thing is our only attribute is just giving birth, is just taking care of families, but it's way more than that. And it's really nice and inspiring, I must say, to say the least that I can say. So when Andrea said, Bridget, speak about GBV, I'll try to be very short, because one thing that came into my mind, I was like, what am I gonna be talking about with regards to GBV? Because with regards to lockdown and the pandemic and everything, we all know the numbers have escalated. We've seen it, and we have called them by name. So we have marched in the streets. We have, had discussions. We have had podcasts where we're discussing this, where we're discussing the loopholes in the justice system, where we have discussed quite a number of things that are leading and causing GBV itself. So to say that we are less informed about GBV, it would be a great understatement. In fact, it wouldn't be true, because we now know quite a lot about GBV and what's taking place. And to be in the profession that I am in, inspired by the mother of the nation, Winnie Mandela herself, the one and only. Being inspired by her in the profession of being a social worker, one thing that I've taken from her is servanthood, that to be of service to our communities. And it's one of the things that our guests were speaking about, that it's more than just about you. It's about the other life on the other side of you, not looking down on yourself, of you, taking territory, of you having an impact in other people's life. You're benefiting, but let me tell you, another person is benefiting. So on that note, it's in the action of the generation of Mama Winnie, the generation that came before me, that I wanna basically focus on. That it wasn't a generation of, yeah, I know this GBV, yeah, I know what. It was more than just me marching and making a protest, wanting to be listened to, but it was also more of me being an active member, me taking action, basically. And that's where I'm coming from, where we as NGOs, we come in and we say, we want to be involved. What can we do? We are ready. We want to be of service. We want to be the servant. We want to serve the people. We want to be of use. We want to have impact. We want to see change. And it's in us getting involved together and working together where we get to have an impact. So in my response to me asking myself, what am I going to be speaking about on GBV, is in talking about the resources that have already been established with regards to GBV. And probably it's going to be, organizations that you're going to want to, take part in and everything. So now, just to mention a few, because we have raised the concern, we know that it's an issue, we know that it's another pandemic, basically. So now what do we do as a way to get involved, as a way to assist and offer a type of solution to what we are currently facing? So DSD does have wide doors. I must say, so we work with DSD also as an organization, to refer or those kind of things. So there are wide doors. I'm gonna speak specifically in terms of Port Elizabeth, because that's where we are based, and us as MES, we are under Bethelsdorp. And so we work within the northern areas. So the wide doors that I want to mention, just to not spell or anything, I want to give the information as best as I could. And so the DSD wide doors that we have within the northern area, we have the Galvandale Wide Door Center, we have the Helen Vale Wide Door Center within the northern areas, and then we have KwaZakhele, the New Brighton Wide Door Center, we have Motherwell Wide Door Center, and then we have Utenake in KwaNobuhle Wide Door Center, and in Woma, Sihlambe Senior, which is another wide door. Basically, these are the resources that are out there. So should you meet someone who is saying, I am a victim of, gender-based violence, or I wanna go out there, I need some partners with me who would go with me to educate on these things. And this one, DOXA, is DOXA. DOXA is in Zwide, which mostly focuses on men. It is undeniable that in our country we are having, and mostly in our Black communities, should I point that out, that we are having a high rate of absent fathers. And it is undeniable the impact that the whole family structure plays, because most of the time we know that it's as a unit, a family as a unit, both parents bring in different, things. And with regards to sometimes you find that the mother is raising the child alone, and then there are uncles and those kind of people or male figures that are involved in the child's life that play a part in the child's life and impact the child's life. But there are circumstances where not everyone is as fortunate to have that, and that's when we like to attribute the absent father and link it to the lack of role models, the lack of mentors to nurture and mentor these young men, to groom them into becoming the best version of men that we can have in South Africa, the kind that know that it's not okay to abuse a woman, the kind that know how to be a man. To be a man is not to exert control over a woman, and vice versa. What DOXA does is that they offer a mentorship program to young men. They offer a fatherhood program, so it's mostly focused there. And then another thing that they do in focusing with the boy child is that it goes beyond that. What we have spoken about in many GBV seminars, that it's not just about us women who experience the gender-based violence, but it is across all genders, therefore making also men being also victims of GBV. So they also offer counseling for men. So now I just want to get into what we do as MES. MES stands for Mold, Empower, Serve. So we want to mold our clients into being the best versions of themselves, so they feel empowered enough to go into their communities to serve and be active members of their community. That is what we're all about. That is where our heart is at, changing the heart of the city, through working with people who are homeless. So we are also a homeless shelter. We are a homeless shelter, and then we are opposite Kempston Road. So there's programs within MES. So within MES, we have the restoration program, which offers, which assists in terms of drug. It's a rehabilitation program for someone dealing with an addiction or anything. And we are mostly founded in Christian values. So we are not just guided by just write about anything, but our foundation is based on Christian values. So that is what MES does. We offer counseling, we also offer group counseling, we offer skills, and one way that I need to highlight that maybe amongst here that you can try and get involved in what we're doing is in we are an NPO. So we are non-funded by government. So we try by all means, to have the impact that we're supposed to have within the communities. But funds are an issue because we accommodate 109 homeless people. That is apart from our safe space that is an overnight shelter. So if I conclude an all in overnight, in our safe space, we accommodate 50 people. So upstairs it's 109. So we are big in that sense, and we want to have a bigger impact than we are actually having. But we are struggling with funds because the people need to eat. Basic human right, need to eat. There's electricity bills. There is there's people need clothing, they need toiletries. So there is different ways that you can, you know, come in and join hands with us and build with us in trying to eliminate some of the challenges that we are having as an NPO, as we are trying to get out there. And thank you so much, Andrea, with regards to, in fact, let me thank the faculty itself for offering, you know, to donate with regards to sanitary towels, because we have both genders, men and women. We have the elderly within and having a caregiver for the elderly. So it's a large spectrum. It's a large spectrum of people that we are actually assisting here. So not to be long. So that is where I will end. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Should there be any questions, I'm very much open.
Thank you so much, Bridget. You know, we love the work that you do, and we are so grateful. And we just want to extend our thanks from a humanity point of view. It really takes special people to do what you do and to give your life in this way, really expecting nothing in return. And that selflessness is what we need more in our society. So thank you so much. And as a young woman yourself, you are really setting the tone for other young women and showing your love and support. And we really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Do we have any questions for the lovely Bridget? Anybody that has anything they want to add before I just discuss some things with you about our sanitary drive? If you do have any questions as we go along, please feel free to use the chat box. That's what it is there for. So thank you so much. As we have mentioned before, we have a month-long sanitary drive that's being run. So please contact myself or contact Nomta or contact anybody that you know from the faculty if you have any contributions or donations that you would like to make. There is a box outside my office door on 2nd Avenue, room 220. There are 2 boxes that is on the 7th and 8th floor, and you'll find that on South Campus. There is a box that you will find at Vovotelos, and lastly, a box that you will find at the business school. So anytime you want to make a donation, please let us know. If you can't make it to campus or Vovotelos, just let us know and we will arrange something. We will do the handover to Mold at the end of August, and all contributions, no matter how small, would go a long way because it is a basic human right. Having access to sanitary products is a basic human right that a lot of us don't have, which is really heartbreaking. So wherever we can do something to make a difference, we are all for it. So just while I'm seeing as well everybody leaving, obviously you have other commitments and we did schedule 3 hours for this. I do understand that not everybody can stay the whole 3 hours. So I will, and Nomta as well, will be emailing everybody who has attended and letting you know of the pickup point for your goodie bags. But just for everybody here, it will be at the business school. So if you go to the business school, you would be able to pick up your goods today, tomorrow, and Wednesday from 12 to 2 p.m. So we will give all the detailed information in email, but that's where you can expect it. So we're going to give you one more trivia question, and the person who wins this with the fastest raised golden paw, you will get 2 goodie bags. So you will not get 1, you'll get 2 goodie bags. We want to know from you, because we have a plethora and a wonderful abundance of female leadership at the Nelson Mandela University. What is the name of our chancellor?
Is that the chancellor, not the vice chancellor, eh? The chancellor?
Yes, our chancellor. Yes, correct.
Not Professor Keat.
No, Professor Keat is our vice chancellor, our deputy vice chancellor. Sorry. Oyintanda, you have your answer.
Is it Geraldine Fraser, something like that?
Yes, well done, Oyintanda. It's Dr. Geraldine Fraser Moleketi. Thank you so much. You get 2 goodie bags. So please, when you come to collect, we will have your name down for your vouchers as well as your 2 goodie bags. Thank you so much for participating. You've been a star. I will now hand over to Nomta, who will introduce the next speaker.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And just to add on the goodie bags pickups, please don't forget to either bring your student card or your staff card just for verification purposes. So please, when you collect your goodie bags, because you are required to just sign for it, and we also need to authenticate you. Without any further ado, allow me to then present our next speaker. We've got Dr. Tanaka Mugabe. Dr. Tanaka Mugabe has a PhD in sociology, and she is a strong advocate for social sciences. Her other passion or her other interests are in rural development, and she also has a qualification in law, an LLB degree. Dr. Tanaka is very much passionate about women empowerment, project management, and specifically women empowerment in the maritime sector. She is a project manager with SAIMI, the South African International Maritime Institute, and that is the institute that is at the heart of South Africa's effort, not only in growing our maritime sector, but in developing the skills, knowledge, and also transforming our maritime sector. And before I give over to Dr. Tanaka, allow me to also thank you, Tanaka, and your CEO, Mr. Odom Tati, and the entire SAIMI team for the assistance and specifically for the sponsorship. You guys will get to see when you get your goodie bags, there's a beautiful, beautiful, memorable gift that SAIMI has enclosed in the bag for us. So thank you so much. We appreciate your partnership, and we're looking forward to your brief presentation. Over to you, Tanaka.
Thank you very much, Nomta. I just saw that there was a hand that was up, so I'm not sure if I should give the person a chance to speak before I comment.
Please go ahead, and then Oyentanda, if you have any questions, we'll take it after that.
Okay, no, thank you once again, Nomta, for the introduction. And I just want to again just greet everyone on the platform. I know we've got a mixture of both men and females, so thank you all for attending this event. I think I was very excited, Nomta, when I realized that the event was also going to have men participate, because I think the old way of communication whereby women events are only for women, we seem to be speaking to ourselves, preaching to the choir, but now we speak to everyone as a collective. So I'm very excited to be part of this platform. I think the important thing for events like this that happens throughout the month of August, they're only important also to celebrate the milestones achieved by women in various sectors of the economy. But it also gives us an opportunity to reflect on the challenges still ahead of us. I was quite in agreement. I think I forgot who the speaker was, who spoke about the gaps, the skills gap within the sector, in different sectors, primarily looking at women and looking at issues of technology and cybersecurity. And it got me thinking whilst preparing for this talk that at times we need to be in a position to look at practical approaches in terms of addressing the plight and gaps of women within the sector. So as opposed to, yes, the lived experiences are important, but what are the mechanisms of accelerating the growth of women within the sector? I think that's one of the key things that we're trying to implement as SAIMI within our different programs. And with that said, I also want to recognize what Bridget spoke about in terms of having practical steps. She spoke about practical steps in which their NPO is working towards facilitating development within different communities. So that again speaks to the holistic idea that we have as the South African International Maritime Institute to look at transformation as a holistic approach as we advocate for more women to be included in the mainstream, particularly in the maritime industry. It is unfortunate that we saw this as as an opportunity, having realized that every time we host everything, it's always the first woman in this, the first woman in this. We're still years ahead, and we're still talking about first woman in specific industry sectors, and that thing is not changing. We don't want to have the first woman for this. We want to have a collective of women we celebrate for specific thing within different areas, whether it's the sciences, whether it's engineering, whether it's, you know, having to do with hard sciences, any form of hard sciences where women have been excluded for majority of the time. It is still surprising. We had a side group conversation where we identified that we were under the assumption that actually just 2% of the world's seafaring workforce in the maritime industry is considered to be primarily women, but this number has actually decreased in 2021, and only 1.2% are actually involved in the sector. So whilst these numbers are decreasing, and then we are saying we're making these efforts, we have to question ourselves, where is the gap in the efforts that we are making? Just to bring a bit of contextualization, the maritime sector, I think for most people here coming from a business perspective, you may not be very much aware of the broadness of the sector itself. It's got plus minus 8 subsectors, which are different environments of functioning. You're looking at marine tourism, which has to do maybe with boat cruising, people will go sailing, different type of water sports that are related, where majority of people have actually been excluded. You also have aspects to do with marine manufacturing, where it comes into the developing and the building of boats. And there isn't a lot of knowledge within our society of the vast opportunities that are going there. If you look at these movies with all these big yachts that are being built, some of those come actually from South Africa, and there's a big opportunity, there's huge opportunity, but most women are not part of this industry. We may speak of seafaring, which speaks to the chartering of ships or boats, and that as well. You will find that women have been marginally excluded exclusively from these areas because, for example, it's cheaper to maybe have men on a boat because you don't have to take care of specific personal hygienic aspects for women. So you will find that this industry has been one of the main exclusionary industry for women in the sector. So we put ourselves in a position as the South African International Maritime Institute to say, how do we accelerate the development of women within the sector? So this month, in speaking to more progressive ways of thinking, we are excited to be announcing our Women Empowerment Program, which we've actually run through the business school, which we have entitled Imbokodo Maritime Transformation Program. This obviously originates from the struggle song that says, Watinta Bafazi, Watinda Imbokodo, meaning when you strike a woman, you strike a rock. So it has become a symbol for most African women's strength and resilience, despite the many challenges that continue to face women today, particularly in the workplace. However, whilst we still use that concept, that term, there's a lot of pushback from most women to say, but why do we have to be strong at the expense of the things in the environment that require that strength from us? So how do we mitigate that aspect of strength? Should we continue talking about us being rocks in that we can withhold any form of pressure put on us? Do we need to accept this pressure? I found that conundrum quite interesting, that we speak about the strength of women, but let's also speak to the things that subject them to that strength. Are they necessary? How do we also deal with the aspects that subject women to those aspects? So in thinking that, we need to think about how do we practically implement aspects of decreasing that pressure on women and giving them similar positions, giving them the same equitable access to all these aspects, particularly when we're looking at in the maritime sector, or for that purpose in any industry. So with this program that we are going to launch in August, it's aimed at focusing on addressing the challenges that women face in the maritime sector. I heard most people speaking about effects of what we can just summarize as breaking through the glass ceiling. And again, it's a glass ceiling because it's meant to be broken. At least it's not wood, it's not stone. So there we are moving from the rock. Now we're going into the glass because it's meant to be broken. So as we think about these things, how do we practically break the glass that's meant to be broken? Also addressing discriminating practices in the work environment and providing skills to support women in professional endeavors and growing women entrepreneurs in the maritime sector has become one of the critical aspects that we want to also see imprinted. So with that, I mentioned that we'll be launching the Imbokodo Maritime Transformation Program through a qualification that is going to look to the acceleration of development of growth. And I'll go back to one of the speakers that say, what are the practical things that are required by women in the sector? And we came to say they need from a middle management wanting to go to maybe perhaps your senior level management. How can we provide skills in critical areas like maritime technology, cybersecurity? I heard someone speak about cybersecurity and issues around technological developments within the sector. The minute we do that, we are consciously saying what women need is the same knowledge base and is the same support that needs them to accelerate within the space. So we are very excited about this initiative because it's a practical step whilst we think about the different theoretical models of leadership, whether you're talking about the partnership model or you're looking at the domination models in which we criticize the different aspects of leadership. Let us think towards critical aspects of what are actually the tools that a woman needs to get into a position, and let's implement those and not maybe focus on the so-called weaknesses that say, oh, women need to raise kids. Yes, we need to raise kids. Women need to do this. We need to do that, but we still need, you know, the relevant tools, the relevant knowledge to be able to penetrate those spaces that are otherwise closed off. So we are very excited to be launching this activity with the business school, and we are hoping that it can see some form of increase in traction of women getting into senior positions within companies that have to do with maritime. So I acknowledge that these gaps are not unique to the maritime industry. However, it is hoped that changes in the maritime sector will have a knock-on effect on other sectors as well, that we are able to provide best practices that other people can actually follow. So as SAYEMI is committed to developing and implementing strategic interventions to enhance greater access for South African and African women to participate in the maritime sector, either through entrepreneurial opportunities, research, and/or ensuring their readiness for sustainable careers in the sector. So just to highlight other things that our program offers, it will be launched on the 24th of August in KZN. I will share the details with Nomta to share with everyone on the platform. You're very much welcome to attend. We're doing it in partnership with the Department of Transport, eThekwini Maritime Cluster. Obviously, we're going to involve the Nelson Mandela Business School, as well as the Moses Kotane Institute, which is based in KZN, and the WISTA South Africa, which is a women's group that has to do with transport and shipping. Part of the objectives of this Imbokodo transformation program will also include opening up of funding opportunities through bursaries, grants, and internship so that we maximize women's participation in the maritime sector. At SAYEMI currently, we've got 87% of women working within the organization. And I think, Nomta, you can support me on this. We are doing quite well with that complement of women of running this ship for the country. We're also wanting to implement issues to do with work readiness initiatives so that we ensure women have better opportunities of finding employment in the sector. We're also offering, for example, with this business course, with this acceleration program we're doing with the business school, it's one of our continuous professional development to encourage the establishment of women-owned businesses and cooperatives within the sector. And lastly, obviously, through advocacy and supporting such platforms as being done today and awareness, we also want to create opportunities for people to be aware of the opportunities within the oceans economy. And we hope that this holistic transformational approach will help SAYEMI through the Imbokodo program to catalyze a transformative culture of inclusivity, tolerance, and gender mainstreaming in the maritime sector. Just before I close off, I just want to refer to an aspect of a talk that I watched on the TED Talk that spoke about sponsors, I want to leave you with this. When you enter a room, especially in the business fraternity and so forth, when they're looking for executives or directors, there's often one person who's like, especially men, like men often have what we call sponsors. And there's someone who advocates for you when you go into that platform. And often men advocate for other men in those platforms because they then stand there as sponsors, as people who have, you know, confidence in that. So as women, let's try to be those sponsors for each other. Enter a room, and when directors or big positions are mentioned, let's be able to be confident to put forward names of our colleagues so that we hold each other into the space. And that's the only way we can maximize the participation of women within the different industry. With that said, as SAIMI, we are always open to collaborations with stakeholders. So if you would like to get involved to hear more about the program, please contact me after this event. We are always excited to work across faculties, across disciplines. So thank you very much, Nomta and team, for having me on the platform. And I hope, I wish everyone a beautiful Women's Month and enjoy the goodies from SAIMI. Nomta, just before we close, I just want to share screen, and then you can always share this with colleagues later. I just want to show what's happening in the month of August. Obviously, we've had this event today. The upcoming one, the day after tomorrow, we're in Cape Town for another event. It's a Women in Maritime workshop with the International Oceans Institute and the WISTA South Africa. And on the 24th, we'll be hosting our SAIMI launch of the Women in Maritime and also awards evening. And then we'll be launching on the 25th of August. We've got 15 spots that are going to be opened for the qualification to accelerate the development of women for the Maritime Leadership Program, where we'll have maritime technology, digital technology, project management, and Excel at an advanced level. And lastly, but not least, the Department of Transport will host the WIMESA relaunch with the Women in Maritime for Eastern and Southern Africa on the 30th and 31st, and it's here in Port Elizabeth, and I'll share the details, and everyone on the platform, you're most welcome to attend. Thank you, Nomta.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Tanaka, for that presentation. Allow me to, as you were closing off, the support comment that you mentioned, that as men grow or as they advance in their career, they always build up their support. Not to say that we're now going to start a woman support program, but just to encourage the woman within the faculty, within the various platforms, within the various industries or businesses that you're coming from, to always not only pay it forward, but as we achieve and promote gender equality, that support is something that's very needed. And we can't always be expecting it from our male counterparts or them to lead us in that area. So thank you so much for that. I'm also wary of the time. I will take 2 questions or comments for Dr. Tanaka. So if anyone has a question or a comment for Dr. Tanaka, please do so. We'll also have the chat as an option if you don't want to raise your hand and unmute your mic. So any questions for Dr. Tanaka or SAIMI?
And as well, if you have any further questions for Melanie, please can you let us know, as I know that Melanie has to leave at 1 due to a prior commitment. So any questions for our speakers even thus far, please feel free to use the chat function or raise hand features. If maybe you don't have anything right now, then that's okay. You can always pop us emails. You can request or go on the internet to find the business information. For example, Nadia Hearing Solutions. There is the business information for Nadia Hearing Solutions, SAIMI, ABSA, etc. on our website with the link that I shared as well. So I see someone does have their hand raised. Please feel free to ask your question.
Hi, my name is Alice, and my question is because what Tanaka was saying is very captivating program for me that I would love to be part of. Therefore, my question is, in order for you to join or to be part of the Women Empowerment Program, is there any requirements needed or what?
Thank you so much for your question, Alice. Tanaka, may I request that you send us full information in terms of requirements? Thank you for sharing the dates and the venues. So as you would have noted, most of these events, they're nationwide, catering for SAIMI's footprint also, as they are a national institution. But please do share that. Time is just a bit of a challenge for us to give Tanaka a few minutes just to give the requirements and what you can expect at those events or at the training opportunities that SAIMI is offering. So Tanaka, if we can humbly ask that you send that information, and then we'll share it with all on this platform. Thank you so much. In the absence of any other question, because I am looking at the hand raising option, I've only seen one hand. Andrea, I'm going to give over to you for our next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tanaka, and that has been inspirational. It has been wonderful just to chat with you as well and to get to know you. Hopefully, this is the start of a long and wonderful relationship in future with the Business and Economic Sciences faculty. So we are really grateful that you have assisted us, and especially with the sponsors, the beautiful items and the beautiful bags. We really are so grateful. Thank you so much. Now, our last lovely speaker before we have a surprise for you, because remember we said we have a surprise for you, and we have an incredible gentleman that is going to be our surprise and be able to conclude our event. But our last lovely speaker and sponsor is Miss Suzanne Meyer. Suzanne is the owner of Vovotellos. As mentioned before, she is a young entrepreneur with an incredible business mind, and not only that, but is a humanitarian as well. She has lots of initiatives, and most recently, for Mandela Day, had a lovely program where the poor and needy were fed. So that just goes to show that even with all the success, she still has so much humility, is so down to earth, and is so willing to help her fellow man. Now, with that brilliant mind of hers, we are really so eager to listen to what she has to say and to pick her brain. So the floor is yours, Suzanne. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is lovely for me to be a part of this day. And yes, let's jump right into the day. So can everyone see the slideshow? Is it fine on your guys' side?
Visible. Thank you so much, Suzanne.
Awesome. Okay, so my name is Suzanne Meyer. I am currently 23 years old. I am for sure a young entrepreneur, and I am the manager and the franchise owner of Vovotello Bakery and Cafe that is situated in Richmond Hill. So to start it off, so what is a young entrepreneur? So for myself, I'll see it as a person who identifies and pursues an opportunity and just goes for it without allowing any risk to become barriers. So of course, doing anything, there is pros and cons. So as a young entrepreneur, you do have your family that supports you and your friends. You've got time in your hand. You don't have to have a family that you have to look after. And of course, for me, I saw that people my age is really struggling to get jobs. So for a young entrepreneur, you tend to want to hire and employ young people because I know how hard it is out there. Learning is simplified for me. My brother was actually my mentor, but we'll get later into that. And if you fail, it gets tolerated in the beginning because you're young and you are still learning. And the most important part of it all is you're enthusiastic. I want to go for every opportunity. I want to just stuck my head into something new every time and just go for it. And of course, being young and being an entrepreneur, there is a few negative things. As you do not have the experience, you do not have such a great network connection. People do not trust you as much as they would have trusted an older person in such a big industry. And of course, we are scared of big things, of the unknown. And of course, we need to be disciplined. Today is about female and about women and to empower women. That's why gender bias is a big thing in every situation and in every business. And of course, if you are young, you do not have the capital and the financial support that any older person would have in a business industry. So I was thinking, okay, I'm a young entrepreneur, I have learned, and I want to bring out the negative things of being an entrepreneur and convert them into something positive. So things like not having the experience as an older person, you need to build that experience. And by doing that, you need to write about your interest. What is it in your field that interests you? Write about it. You know, you need to network with similar businesses in your industry. So for me as a coffee shop person, I'll go to different coffee shops each week. I'll see what they are doing, what I'm not doing. What can I learn from them? You know, you need, if you're in a big company, the only way for a young entrepreneur or someone that is still young to learn is by doing internships, because the best way to learn is by first-hand experience. And of course, research your brand. You need to know what your brand is about. You need to know what it stands for, the mission, vision, and the values of your brand. Okay, let's go to the next thing. Though networking. In order to build a better network connection around you, your business, what your interest is to go to those events. So to connect with inspiring people, you need to go to these events. And there's a lovely event in PE that I do not miss. So it's called the Women's Circle. So they are hosted, I don't know, every second month. And I do not miss that. I go to that, I connect with the people. They are feeding me with such inspiring words. And that's the only way you learn and connect and build relationships by people, is putting yourself out there. And we want to know the person that others want to see us as. They check us on social media, they do stalk you. That is a true fact. So if you want to be seen as a young entrepreneur that is passionate, that is enthusiastic, that is goal-driven, you need to portray that on social media. So of course, in any business, there are the unknown. And in fact, for me, is imagine I have a big catering business that I have to cater for, and I need to make sure that everything is perfect. Everything is according to their standards and what they expect of me. So I'll research the brand. I'll get some background on what it's all about. I do focus on only what is important. So whatever is expected from you, you want to top that. You want to do better. So you need to always trust in yourself in order to be better and to be bigger. So for a young entrepreneur, there's a lot of distractions out there. We've got friends. This one is doing this. There's a party that weekend, but you need to be disciplined. If you want to be a successful young woman one day, you need to be disciplined. Your work, the most hours in your day you spend at work. So you need to feel that your workplace is your happy place. I want to wake up in the morning and I want to go to work because I love my job. You know, your job needs to fulfill you. And in order to be fulfilled, to be a good leader, and that you need to create a good routine each day. Focus on what's important first, then middle, and then whatever is not so important for the day can be moved to the next day. But you need to prioritize each morning when you get to work. I will be doing this now. This is the most important. I'll get that done first before I go into the next stuff. It's important to prioritize each morning. And for that, you will not let anything get in your way. Of course, it's a business event. And sorry, I just got a pop up. Excuse me, guys. Don't know what just happened. Thanks. Sorry. Let me just get back into this. Can everyone see the presentation?
Not a problem. Yes, we still can see your presentation.
Is it still fun on your side? Okay, it's a bit funny on my side, but I've got my papers here so we can just go on to that. okay, we are focusing on women, and gender bias is a thing in every business. So for that, I have also been exposed to the fact that females do not always have the upper hand in a male-dominant environment. So therefore, I would just like to dig into gender-based. So for me as a manager, also, I do employ more women than female because I know what it's been like to be able to enter a working environment and being a woman, because men always get first hand. So diversity needs to be equal. Opportunities in a business for men and women needs to be equal. And it's always good to build an organizational culture in a business for everyone to be transparent and act the correct way. So Vuvuzela Bakery and Cafe is situated in Richmond Hill. But we don't know that Richmond Hill is actually a big part of Nelson Mandela Bay. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar or who is familiar with Richmond Hill and the area. So I love the way the buildings of Richmond Hill, it's a nice blend of Victorian and old Edwardian architecture. And there's actually a street in Richmond Hill that forms part of the Heritage Walk that goes through Nelson Mandela Bay. And I'm sure all of you are familiar with the Westbourne Oval that was previously a dam, and now it's the starting point for the Richmond Hill Trial. And of course, there's the Sunning Church that is also incredibly beautiful. Richmond Hill is filled with restaurants. So famous streets in Richmond Hill where you would find lovely restaurants is of course Stanley Street, Raleigh Street that we are in, Cooper Street and Moffat Street. So all types of food can be found in Richmond Hill area, from Chinese, contemporary, Asian, Italian, Mexican, Austrian. So Richmond Hill provides you with the perfect balance from breakfast, lunch and dinner. So Vuvuzela in Richmond Hill is rated the best breakfast spot. So the brand was actually born in 2006. It's a perfect experience from the bakery and cafe side, where we provide full breakfast and lunch from high quality foods. And we've also got our bakery side with artisanal bread and freshly baked pastries that we offer each day. There's just a few photos of Richmond Hill. So the first photo will be just to show the architecture. And then if we look down, there's the Westbourne Oval that you guys are familiar with. And at the top again, right-hand corner, that's the church. It's very close to Vuvuzela as well. It's a big heritage site. And there we've got all our lovely restaurants and how the nightlife in Stanley Street, Richmond Hill is. But now, the most important part, Vuvuzela itself. So Vuvuzela came to idea, the guy Matt, he's the owner and founder of Vuvuzela. So he was on a holiday in Madagascar, and an old green rusty bike passed him with high stacked baguettes, you know, those French loaves. And he got this idea about bringing fresh artisanal bread back to South Africa. So the name Vuvuzela comes from the hotel that he stayed in while being on that surfing holiday in Madagascar. So Vuvuzela is all about freshly baked bread, pastries. Our coffee is absolutely amazing. I have to add, our barista just won the best in South Africa. So that is incredible, and we are so proud of him. So Vuvuzela became part of the Meyer family in 2016, where my mom's the owner. And by that time, my brother was the franchise manager of this beautiful, historical, authentic building that we are in, filled with good food and great people. So my story, I studied in Stellenbosch, BCom Business Management and Marketing Science. And then, of course, COVID-19 hit. I got the opportunity to learn and experience under my brother's mentorship how a business is run firsthand. So the one thing led to the another, and you know how life goes, it's super unexpected. I became the manager of Vuvuzela. So my working life started at a very early age of only 21 years old, where I had to face big life challenges, and I had to learn to make the best out of the unknown. That's why I wanted to start off being a young entrepreneur and how to convert the negative into the positive. So just a little bit advice that I would like to give you guys is always do research. The more that you know about something, the better you can be at it. So always focus on the now and what is important now and stay grounded with that. And to be a good leader and to be a good female leader in such a male-dominant industry, I have to contain my stress and be the best. You can't pour from an empty cup. So if you want to be the best leader, you need to live a healthy lifestyle. You need to manage your stress. And you always need to have someone that you can speak to, who you trust, and that person needs to know your abilities. So for me, that person will be my mom. She is an absolute mentor for me. So Vuvuzela also do cater for year-end functions, baby showers, bridal showers, business events, external catering. We do that all. So we've got lovely pastries, we've got lovely cakes, we do platters, we do boards. Please feel free to contact me about that. I would love to help, and we would love to cater for anyone out there, and it does not have to be standard. We can do the best that we could to make it sure it's perfect for you guys. So to end it off, I want to really speak about my mother. I always get so proud when I speak about her, and I just light up, and I feel really so proud to be a daughter of such an incredible woman. So my mom obviously became the owner of Vuvuzela Bakery and Cafe in 2016. But in the meantime, she has always had Casa Mia Health Spa and guest house in Addo. My mother is one phenomenal woman. She's my mentor because she's got incredible business skills and she's a great leader. She's a strong, powerful woman in a male-dominant business industry. Nothing will stop her from reaching her goals and striving to be better each year. She's a good listener. She values my perspective of things, and she is super knowledgeable in the hospitality industry and how to manage a business. She always provides me with constructive feedback with honesty and integrity. And I think that's very important in a business, is to always be honest, be true to your values, just be you. You know, you don't have to portray as something, just be you. People love you for being you. They don't love you for being someone else or wanting to be someone else. So that's why my mother is always my mentor. She helped me connect with people, and she's super flexible because she's always open for new challenges and opportunities, and that is incredible. You shouldn't be, if you want to be a leader or an entrepreneur, be closed off. You need to be flexible. You need to be open. You need to be like ready for the next thing. So for me, I really strive to be an incredible woman as my mother and to conquer my businesses one day the way she does it. So just a little bit about Casa Mia Health Spa. It's nestled among citrus trees in the peaceful and tranquil setting where you can experience a full spa, and there's a lot of adrenaline activities in the Sundays River Valley. And of course, Addo Elephant Park is just there where you can experience the Big Five up close. So just before I end off this day, I just would like to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity to share my story as a young entrepreneur. I'm so happy on this Monday. And for young women, you always want to give back to the community. We all share the Bay. And so for us from Vuvuzela, I'm thankful that you guys mentioned the Nelson Mandela. We do give back to the community by offering bread and all our pastries that's left over for the day to always feed charities with that. So I just want to leave you guys with a little challenge. What are you as an incredible woman, part of Nelson Mandela Bay, doing to enhance this bay and making it better? What are you doing to give back to the community? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Every time I get to speak to you or see you, I'm always so in awe of you because you are just such a remarkable young lady, but you are so humble and sweet and kind, and people just meeting you can just be so drawn to you because of that wonderful energy that you have. And also, I must admit, I get quite hungry when I speak to you as well because I'm thinking of that strawberry tart that I need to come to Bobotelos for. That is my favorite thing. I dream of that. I can go to sleep thinking of it and wake up thinking about it. It is just divine. But everything on your menu is just so incredible. So we are so thankful that you have partnered with us for this event. And I've also met your mom, who's also just such a beautiful person as well. So no, it really is such a wonderful opportunity to hear this story of a generational inspiration, you know, where one generation of powerful women inspires another, and then you will go on to inspire another. That's a beautiful chain. So thank you so much, Suzanne, and we really did enjoy that so much. So now we have a wonderful treat as well, and I'm going to hand over to Nomta to introduce our incredible surprise, and I hope that everyone is going to have a wonderful time listening on. Nomta, over to you.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I was almost tempted to say I'm still enjoying my breakfast from Vavotelo, so please don't disturb me. But I realize it's almost lunchtime. But thank you so much. I also want to thank Suzanne for her sponsorship and also that insightful presentation. As you mentioned, that generational legacy being created within the family. And I also want to latch on that challenge that she's asked all women on the platform as to what are you as incredible women doing in making this beautiful bay of ours a better place. So thank you so much, Suzanne. And Andrea, without wasting any time, allow me to introduce our last and surprise speaker. Dr. Kupwanga is once again very dear to us, not only as the faculty, but also to us ladies, because Andrea and myself will just attest that we have been tapping into his knowledge and just some ideas in terms of women empowerment and what he teaches and what he's all for as a male within our society. So Dr. Kupwanga is within our marketing department. Dr. Welcome Kupwanga is in our faculty. He holds a PhD, and I wouldn't want to make him shy and say everything on his CV, but we are once again honored to have him share his surprise with the ladies and also agree to be the thorn amongst the roses that have shone beautifully this morning and on our program. So Dr. Kupwanga, I'm going to give over to you and allow you to share your surprise without spoiling it for everyone. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think just confirming if you can hear me.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right. I'm not sure why it's a surprise, but let's see if it's going to be a surprise or not. So thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you for all the people that have presented before me. Without wasting a lot of time, I've got a short presentation that I need to go through, and I know that time is not on our side. So I'm just going to jump into it. So it has become popular that every year in August, the country marks the Women's Month, which is aimed at celebrating the strength and resilience of women and their contribution to society and country. We use this month of August to remember and keep alive the spirit of the generation of women whose struggle laid the foundation for the progress made in empowering women. We also pay tribute to the 1956 women of approximately 1956 march of approximately 20,000 women to the UN building in Pretoria to petition against the extension of past laws that served to maintain population segregation, control urbanization, and manage migrant labor during the apartheid era. Equally so, we pay tribute to the many women in our present days in their diversity that continue to become the source of inspiration in advancing rights for all women. It was the generation of women in the likes of Lillian Ngoyi, Sam Ray Simons, Helen Joseph, among others, that saw it fit to establish a broad-based women's organization whose collective objective was to bring the women of South Africa together to secure full equality of opportunity for all women. As a result, the Federation of South African Women was born in Johannesburg in 1954. Following this were several initiatives developed as a way of addressing gender equality, such as the formation of the Commission for Gender Equality in 1997, following the new Constitution of 1996, which is the constitutional entity tasked with promoting, protecting, monitoring, and evaluating gender equality through research, public education, policy development, legislative initiatives, and effective monitoring and litigation. This year's Women's Day theme, Generating Equality, Realizing Women's Rights for an Equal Future, demonstrate that not only is this work important, but it is also incomplete. There have been hugely significant changes for women in terms of employment in the past decades, with more women moving into jobs that traditionally used to be done by men. Over the years, we have seen more women around the world launching and establishing businesses while navigating many bureaucracies in different spheres. And I think it's also evident from different women that have already spoken before me, like Brenda, etc. Over the years, women have continued to penetrate particularly male-dominated industries, such as engineering, medical care, ICT, and software development industries. However, despite these strides, the world in its varied domains is perceived as the men's world and still functions as if it belongs solely to men. In his most famous lyrical song, This is a Man's World, released in 1966, James Brown wrote, "You see, men made the cars to take us over the road. Men made the train to carry the heavy load. Men made electric light to take us out of the dark. Men made the boat for the water like Noah made the ark. This is a man's world, but it wouldn't be nothing without a woman or a girl." Perhaps 57 years later, the song still carries the same meaning. Forrest argues that the inability to advance women's development results from the patriarchal structures within which women operate in. Patriarchy as a system of relations, beliefs, and values embedded in political, social, and economic systems structures gender inequality between men and women, where women are collectively excluded from full participation in political and economic life, while men dominate in these spheres. Stride in hand assert that patriarchal systems produce and reproduce gendered and intersexual inequalities, where men's power is revered and acknowledged while women are treated as subordinates to this power. It is this patriarchal system that continues to produce the world that does not cater for women, but entrenching the perception that the world belongs to men and men alone. Despite the several and varied initiatives carried out over the years to bring women together and create equal opportunities for all women in their diversity, women continue to face many challenges. These challenges reflect both the historical and contemporary inequality and racial divisions in the country. Women are still underrepresented in terms of occupying senior roles, occupying senior leadership roles, and becoming part of decision-making in business, politics, and communities, particularly among the Black African women. The disparities between men and women pay gaps within the corporate world persist. On an economic front, South Africa is regarded as one of the most unequal countries in the world, of which most of the poor people are classified as women. In the narrative of South Africa's inequality challenges, one can argue that the distribution of income and market power in South Africa is a potential leading causal factor that drives inequality among men. From this perspective, it follows that the distribution of economic power should be addressed, and in doing so, every divergent condition of low and high income households or townships and suburbs should be taken into account. I argue that we need to take a bolder and more integrated approach, combining inclusive growth strategies, substantial social protection, and capability development that reconfigure these structural deficiencies in the distribution of power. Is but one of the powers that men have to deal with because as alluded by Francis and Webster, power is produced and reproduced at the intersectionality or the intersection of race, class, gender, and sexuality, as well as other aspects of human identity. It is this power that women always interact with almost every day in their diversity. From a social cultural point of view, women face challenges of abuse and violence. We continue to see a rise in the oppression, marginalization, and vilification of women's bodies. For example, the Commission of Gender Equality biannual report for March to September 2021 reveals that about 9,560 gender-based violence and femicide-related cases were reported for the quarter of first and second quarter of 2021-2022 financial year. The Police Minister Bekele announced that more than 9,500 cases of gender-based violence and 13,000 cases of domestic violence were reported between July and September of 2021. And over the same period, 897 women were murdered, which was an increase of 7.7% compared to the same period in 2020. Gender-based violence is a profound and widespread challenge in South Africa, which disproportionately affects women and members of the LGBTIQ+ community in their diversity. It is systemic and deeply entrenched in diverse institutions and cultures and traditions. I have to add that even in our own institution of Nelson Mandela University, we see this kind of behaviors are manifesting. In many cultural settings, culture is also used as a variable that distinguishes between males and females and determines what is expected and what is allowed in terms of the rules and the values between males and females. Culture has an exerting influence on the prejudice concerning the status of women and in society and in the economy as a whole. Again, we see this patriarchal setting that manifests into harmful traditional cultural practices that are used to support injustice towards men. In concluding, like in 1956, the call to create a world that is diverse, equitable, inclusive is still relevant. Together as a humanity, we can forge women's equality and can create a world that is free of gender biases, stereotypes, and discrimination. In a country that has one of the most progressive constitutions in the world, with a Bill of Rights that foregrounds expanded social and economic rights, more radical policy action is needed to address gender inequalities. And because the world still operates as if it was designed for men alone, it is only right for me to say the creation of an equal society requires men to be conscious of their privileged powers. We need to understand how patriarchy functions and how we as men mainly perpetuate these embedded inequalities and different forms of violence. As men, when we use phrases such as "do not be weak like a man," or "do not cook," I do not cook because I have a wife, we are indeed perpetuating patriarchy and distorted cultural beliefs. We need to ask ourselves, how are we contributing to the creation of a just and equal society? A society where like men, women can realize and leverage their full potential. Creating a just and equitable society is both a social and an ethical imperative on which global human sustainability is based on. When women win and succeed, everyone wins, including men. The success of women is not the fall of men. I think we heard that before. Their success transcends everyone because many in our families, communities, and economies, we often feel this kind of success. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Welcome Kupangwa. We are so honored. And the reason why we had you labeled as a surprise is because we knew that you would really come and be one of our showstoppers because you have so much insight to offer us. And from a woman's perspective, when we hear men acknowledging us and treating us so specially, we really do honor and respect that. In society, we often think of men as being, the gender that looks down upon us or doesn't treat us so well. But I think that that's not true. We have a lot of men in our society that are incredible, respectful, and an exemplary example of what strong men should be and how they treat women. So I thank you for being one of those men who are so fantastic and so incredible, and you always treat all your female colleagues with such respect, and that is why we thought of you, and because we knew that you are such a wonderful example for young men everywhere. So thank you so much for that, and thank you for your lovely presentation. I think I speak for everyone when I said we really thoroughly enjoyed that as well. And to everybody that is here with us still who made it through the 3.5 hours, we are so grateful that you stuck with us, our soldiers. So from the bottom of our hearts, we just want to extend our thanks firstly to Tian Gerber, who has been assisting us throughout this process, who is our tech genius. I do not know what we would do without Tian, to be honest with you. He is really the backbone of everything that we do in terms of our events. So thank you so much, Tian. Thank you to Professor Michelle May, to Mrs. Kim Alexander, to our faculty members, to our Engagement and Transformation Committee members, to our staff, to our students who really support us in everything that we do and inspire us daily. Thank you to our cherished sponsors who have made this event a success, who have also stood by us from the move from a contact event to an online event when so many people backed out because they were fearful of what an online event means. You stood with us and we appreciate you. To everybody who is with us today, who took the time on a Monday morning to enjoy and celebrate this day with us, thank you so much. To my wonderful colleague Nomta, thank you for everything. And I think that this has been the most magical journey and has just encouraged us to keep this as an annual tradition, which is why it is so important for you to please go onto our website, log in and register and become members so you can, keep up to date with everything that we are doing and just also see what we have coming up next year. And yeah, from my side, I'm now going to hand over to Nomta to finish off the vote of thanks, but I'm so grateful to everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, and thanks to you, Andrea, and thank you for acknowledging all our sponsors. Time is not on our side, so do bear with me if I seem as if I'm shortchanging or rushing through everything, but we do respect and appreciate the time that you've allocated to attend this event. We want to wish you all a very phenomenal Women's Month, both our male, female colleagues and students that are on the platform. We want to say, be blessed, and as the challenge has been posed by our last speaker before the surprise, once again, always ask yourself, what is it that you're doing to make this beautiful bay of ours a better place? So that is the challenge that we are posing. It is not the end of our Women's Month series. As Andrea has mentioned, we do have a website. We do invite you to visit that. We are going to be sharing posts, and we are going to be highlighting phenomenal women over the month of August, where you can see their journey and words of encouragement as we once again strive for gender equality, but also a culture of inclusivity in our institution, but also in the societies that we come from. So thank you all. Your goodie bags are at the business school. We definitely would love for you to come and collect those. As mentioned, between 12 and 2 o'clock, starting from today up until Wednesday. So please do collect your goodie bags. We've asked our receptionist to help you. So you are required to just sign and indicate that you've received your goodie bag. And we want to thank you, and wish you all a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just want to add as well, we would be sending emails to everybody. So if you missed out on anything and unsure of what we are talking about with goodie bags, I'll send that via email. And with regards to the month-long celebration of women, first up, we have Professor Cheryl Foxcroft and a sit down with her. Please check that out. Then we have Dr. Tandi Mgwebi, the DVC of Research at our university, which is very exciting. And lastly, we'll have Miss Ronelle Friend. So very, very exciting. Please keep supporting us. Thank you again and have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.
Thank you and goodbye, everyone. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Tian. And thank you to everyone.